kumekuwa na mazogozanio.
We're doing fantastic. Regina, today is Wednesday. Is that the reason why? Is that red, maroon? What's happening? Will you go home today time?
Well,
this stuff, you remember?
You know what they say about Wednesday being a ladies' night and all that? So I started my ladies' night on a ladies' morning.
You're so loyal to the
And red happens to be one of my favorite colors.
All right.
Lady in red.
Oh yeah, Doreen even knows that song by DeBarge. Lady in Red.
She's dancing with me.
Oh, even Victor knows it. Let's find out if Jane knows it.
Yes.
Clear, Jane would not have a clue. Jane?
silent.
Jane would not. Anyway, the song is Lady in Red by DeBarge. It actually goes, Lady in Red is dancing with me.
Allah.
Nobody else.
Allah.
Just you and me.
I remember when I was writing that song. When I was writing that song, I was motivated by...
Motivated?
Yes. Good morning. My name is Victor Lowe. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the program. It's 8th of September. A very good morning to you. And we are glad that you always find time to join us in the program every single day. Later on in the bulletin, they say the bulletin? Yes, that's for Regina to handle, all right? Later on in the program, we'll be talking to Rift Valley Regional Commissioner, that is George Natembeya. Let's just talk about the issues happening in Laikipia. So far, 7 deaths have been reported, and information that we have is that the government has now deployed soldiers to that particular area just to bring some kind of sanity in that particular region of Rift Valley. So, Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembeya will be with us later on in the program. Doreen and Jen, mkwaje?
Tusike kwanza na Mrs. O.
Okay.
Good morning, good morning. How are you doing this fine Wednesday morning? I trust that you're good. We also are very fine, and obviously appreciate you for making time to join us today. This morning on the roads, we shall be looking at what will be happening along the Nakuru-Nairobi highway. Now, this is simply because, according to Kenha, this September is when that construction process is set to begin, and this is the expansion of the northern corridor. So it means that today I'll be telling you all about the specific route, the projects therein, how it is expected to shape the face of Nairobi-Nakuru highway, knowing the fact that it's one of those busy roads, and also key instrumental in terms of transportation of cargo even beyond the country. So that's going to be your focus this morning on the roads. Many thanks for making time. I'm Doreen Arange.
All right, and welcome once again. I am Jane Wamboy. Later on in the program, we are going to be having our Women at the Forefront segment, all about empowerment, all about building each other as the girls on such a beautiful day, the Ladies' Day, in as much as it will culminate in the Ladies' Night. So all that will be coming up in not too long, and we welcome you to be part of this conversation. The hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. At KBC Channel 1 is our official station handle, and our individual handles are at Victor Olo, at Dorina Range, at Ray Manyara, and at Jane Wamboy. We now want to get started with our first segment in the headlines. Just a quick look at what the papers have for us this morning. I start off with the Daily Nation. Very busy today. Stories there at the header, Ruto's running mate headache. Just whom will the DP pick, and especially so from the vote-rich Mount Kenya region? Questions are abound. Now, the next story is in regards to the Judiciary Commission paying the price for justice, blow as CJ reviews court upwards. This story has been featured on the back of the Daily Nation in regards to the fees that have been reviewed up when it comes to filing cases at the court, and this is after the judiciary's budget was slashed from the 18.1 billion in the last financial year to this year's 17.9 billion. We'll be giving you more details as we proceed on with in the headlines. But first, Regina.
Well, thank you for giving us that sneak peek into what we have on our various dailies, and we're going to be proceeding with that after we give you what we have been highlighting, or rather what has made headlines in the last 24 hours as we start off with this particular broadcast. Remember, if you've not had your copy, of your favorite daily, well, this is a place to be because we do not only have it in verbatim but also on audio. This is TV and TV is our business. Now, a school was touched by heavily armed bandits in Olmoran area a day after the government talked tough on the degenerating security situation in Laikipia County. The bandits are said to have set the school on fire in broad daylight, making a mockery of a security operation in the area. Jackie Wambiru has the details.
Government declared the volatile Laikipia Nature Conservancy and its environs as a security operation zone. Merigwet Primary School in Olmoran, Laikipia County was torched Tuesday afternoon. Heavy smoke engulfed the building structures at the learning facility that has already been deserted as parents pulled off their children from the school due to the deteriorating insecurity in the area. The armed bandits daring to even engage security forces in a shootout as they escaped to a nearby valley.
Wanarusharusha marisasi wakitoroka. Kama hawa ile nia ya kupiga risasi ilikuwa ni kwamba walikuwa wanakava ng'ombe, zamana walikuwa na mifugo hapa. So walikuwa nasukuma mifugo, alafu wanaenda na bagi nyuma, wanapiga marisasi.
Journalists covering the story and local leaders who were assessing the situation were caught up in the shootout. The attack happened as Rift Valley Regional Coordinator George Natembea launched a security operation about 4 kilometers away in Olmoran town.
Wameua watu 7. Kwa watu 7 kuna maafisa wa usalama ndani karibu 3 ambao pia wameuawa. Kwa hivyo hapa hata maafisa wakikuja hapa hawaji kwamba wanakuja kudeal na civilian population ambao wanatii sheria. Wanakuja na kudeal na criminals ambao wako tayari kupigana na serikali.
Natembea noted while security forces were using AK-47 and G3 rifles, the bandits were using heavy and sophisticated firearms. Leaders hailing from the region have called on the government to take speedy action and address the troubling insecurity in the area.
Ng'ombe ambayo iko ndani kama iko na mwenyewe akuje atupe proof ya kwamba ng'ombe ni zake, lakini kabla hiyo wananchi wa Laikipia waende wazikague kwa macho. Hakuna mtu ajui ng'ombe yake na mbuzi yake. Tutaenda tutoe ng'ombe zetu na mbuzi zetu ndani ya hizi zinaambiwa ni za mabwenyenye.
Rais Uhuru, take action. Your citizens are dying. Take action.
The NPR that we need in Laikipia, the numbers that we are told have been given guns are not enough. We need more than 1,000 NPRs.
That operation is still ongoing there, with even authorities putting on notice leaders who have been said to be instigating or rather propelling further violence that is being experienced in Laikipia County. Yesterday we were highlighting that this is not a new form of violence that we're seeing in Laikipia County, but rather has been cyclic, especially every general election. Is it political? Rhetoric as it may be, the security operation is still underway. Now we cross over to the political scene where Deputy President William Ruto claims that the clamor for constitutional reforms derailed the development agenda in the second term of the Jubilee government. Ruto says that much time was lost as the political elite concentrated on changing the constitution, promising to continue the momentum if given a chance to be the next president.
Deputy President William Ruto continued with his series of meetings with delegations from different regions at his official residence in Karen. During his Tuesday meeting with a section of grassroots leaders from Murang'a County, Ruto claimed that the clamor for constitutional reforms derailed the development agenda in the second term of the Uhuru administration.
Tayari tumepoteza miaka 4 hatujafanya mpango ya Big 4 ya kuzalisha nafasi ya kazi kwa vijana, ya kuwashughulikia wakulima wapate soko na cooperatives zao sisimame. Hatujafanya ile universal health coverage. Tafadhali tusiendelee kupoteza muda wetu na majibizano ambayo haina maana.
Ruto vowing to catch up on lost time by marshalling a formidable political force that will help him implement his bottom-up economic model.
Tuko na agenda
ya uchumi ya kukabiliana na umaskini na kuhakikisha ya kwamba wale hawana kazi wapate kazi, wale biashara yao ni ndogo tuwasaidie tukuze biashara zao.
Legislators from Mount Kenya region who attended the meeting vowed to back him in his 2022 presidential bid.
Na Kenya hakuna mtu atalazimishwa kufanya vile hataki. Na katika hii century ya 21st century hakuna mtu ya kubebewa akili hata moja. Kila mtu wako na akili zake.
Sisi watu wa Murang'a, let us support chama cha UDA. Hawa watu wengine ambao saizi wanakuja kuitisha viti, mnaona mtu ambaye yuko kwa UDA.
Pia tukaangalia ni kiongozi mgani kati ya wale wote wanaotafuta urais anaweza kukubalika across the entire nation and across generations.
Sisi sauti yetu tumeamua, alama yetu ni wheelbarrow, na presidential candidate wetu, wapende wasipende, ni William Samoei Ruto.
As we say, it is the season, just a year shy away from the general elections 2022. We are going to continue seeing that push and pull. There's been talk, and we're going to be highlighting it as we continue with our broadcast. The issue of divorce between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto. Is it feasible, or just what the political headwinds want at the moment? Now, the National Cohesion and Integration is warning that it will institute legal action against persons who disrupt political meetings. Now, in collaboration with the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, it says that they are investigating several instances of hate speech in political gatherings, and those culpable will not be spared.
The NCIC appeared to react to last Sunday's scenes in Biriri, Kieni constituency, when Deputy President William Ruto's motorcade was blocked by rowdy youth. But that was not the only incident. On the 27th of January this year, supporters of ODM leader Raila Odinga clashed with rowdy youth who wanted to block him from addressing his supporters in Gilrai. In October last year, violent scenes characterized Deputy President William Ruto's tour in Keno, Murang'a County. The NCIC warning that it will prosecute those planning mayhem in political events. NCIC also claims that it is investigating those propagating hate speech in political podiums. In the meantime, the Interfaith Council on COVID-19 is raising alarm over the political gatherings being organized by the political class using the cover of churches. Led by its chairperson, Archbishop Anthony Muheria, the council has called on politicians to exercise responsibility and desist from using places of worship for political rallies.
That is possible to carry on campaigns or popularization through other means other than putting our people at risk. We are calling to your conscience and your heart that you please plead, you please take up the life of our people seriously.
Tuwe na kujari, corona inaongezeka sana wakati umati mwingi wa watu unakuja kusongomana katika makanisa. Wacha siasa ipigwe, lakini isipigiwe kwenye nyumba ya Bwana.
You're not going to be using the pulpit as, your podium to talk about matters politics. Well, it's a matter of waiting and seeing if indeed that will be adhered to. Now, most Kenyans are relying on friends and relatives to fund COVID-19 treatment. This is according to a new survey by InfoTrack that says only 1 out of 5 Kenyans is self-financing medical costs related to COVID, underscoring the need for NHIF to take up the cost of medication.
According to the latest InfoTrack report on health systems that was conducted between the end of 2020 and mid-2021, 2 in 5 people who have contracted COVID-19 have sought help from friends and relatives to pay the cost of medication. According to the report, COVID-19 management costs in hospitals range from 21,361 per day for patients with mild symptoms, 24,705 for patients with severe disease, and 51,684 for critical COVID-19 patients in ICU.
For patients, COVID-19 management costs in hospital, they range from slightly over 21,000 shillings. For asymptomatic patients, slightly over 21,000 shillings per day for patients with mild symptoms, and 24,000 for patients with severe disease, and 51,000, slightly over 51,000 for critical COVID patients in ICU.
Kenyans, according to the report, say the pandemic has greatly affected the cost of healthcare, making it too expensive and beyond reach of many.
The question of funding the cost of healthcare in this country. Already we do know that even before COVID, many of us, most of us, are just a disaster away from complete, financial ruin. If somebody close to you, God forbid, gets ill, then it is likely that the cost of treatment, the cost of medication will leave you destitute.
The survey further indicates that even with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the public health disease burden is very much on pre-existing and chronic health conditions, with 26% of treatment sought, followed by malaria at 19% and respiratory illnesses at 19%. According to the report, 71% of Kenyans visited public health facilities in search of medical attention between the end of 2020 and mid-2021.
So I guess what this tells us is that we should be pushing the vaccine agenda very, 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 very hard to ensure that we do achieve some level of herd immunity, and the Kenyans are then able to avoid these astronomical costs that we see here.
Elsewhere, Kiambu Majority Leader Gideon Gachagua says Kenyans should not be branded apathetical from shying away from COVID-19 vaccines. Speaking in Deya Health Center when he was launching the vaccination Mashinani process, Gachagua urged locals to heed the vaccine call for their own safety.
And also we have also continuously educated our people on the importance of receiving this vaccination. And the more we educate them, the more we give them information, they are responding positively. So now we do not have any apathy.
Do you agree with that particular survey undertaken by Infotrak that NHIF should now bear the cost of, NHIF? Well, your response is highly valued. You can reach us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 News. Tell us where you're watching this particular broadcast from, and what is your take in regard to that survey? Do you believe that NHIF should take up, medical costs incurred, especially by those who are seeking treatment for the COVID-19 virus? Remember, it's a global pandemic, and it's just not only unique to Kenya. And later on, as we're talking about matters insurance, maybe this is a conversation we're going to be posing to our guests this morning. So do keep us company until then. Now back to the political scene, where Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi says he will not sacrifice his presidential ambition, promising a spirited campaign in the 2022 general elections. Mudavadi says he will not yield to the pressure being exerted on him by his political allies and competitors to back either Deputy President William Ruto or ODM leader Raila Odinga.
ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi maintains his presidential bid has no reverse gear. Speaking to a local vernacular station, Mudavadi said he is set and prepared to meet both Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga at the ballot.
Mara kwa mara watu wamekuwa na mtindo wa kufikiri kwamba jukumu letu ni kuwaunga wengine mkono tu, lakini ikifika wakati wa wale wengine kutuunga mkono wanaanza kusita. Na ndio kwa sababu nilisema swala hili wakiniuliza, je, na wao wameulizwa? Na wao wako tayari kuunga wengine mkono? Ama wanataka tu ile vile tulivyowasaidia wakati ule tukaunga mkono tena tuzidi kufanya hivyo? Kwa hivyo bwana, siasa ni heshima bwana.
Mudavadi's remarks come amid claims that he is under immense pressure to either throw his weight behind Deputy President William Ruto or Raila Odinga. The ANC leader says no politician has the moral authority to lecture him on what needs to be done to fix the ailing economy.
Kile mimi nashangaa ni kwamba kwanza yeye yuko katikati ya serikali. Kama kuna sera ambazo zinatokera kama hizi ambazo zimetuweka kwa madeni mazito, si yeye amekuwa kwa jikoni? Yeye amekuwa akihusika na hizo sera. Sasa itakuwaje yeye sasa nasema yeye ndio ana suluhu?
Just like his political competitors, the ANC party leader appears keen on picking a running mate from the vote-rich Mount Kenya region.
Maarufu mwingi katika eneo hiyo, na hawa ni watu ambao wanapenda biashara, wanapenda kuzingatia mambo ya kiuchumi na kadhalika. Kwa hivyo wanaweza changia sana ujenzi wa taifa letu.
And as the race to the 2022 political contest continues to take shape, Mudavadi has called on the government to adequately fund IEBC to enable it fulfill its constitutional mandate.
Well, that continues to ensue as we focus on matters politics. Now, the African Caribbean Community Summit has resolved to develop collaborations in areas of health, blue economy and climate change to harness the tremendous potential in these areas into a powerful socio-economic, cultural and political force. Speaking during the virtual meeting, President Uhuru Kenyatta said it was important for member states to come together and incorporate climate action into national policies and long-term development plans, as well as adopt global best practice to mitigate and adapt to the threats posed by climatic change.
The first ever African Caribbean Community Summit, which was chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta, brought together heads of state and government of the African Union and the Caribbean Community member states. It aims to promote closer collaboration between Africa diaspora, people of African descent, and the Caribbean and Pacific region and its institutions.
Kenya is indeed grateful and feels honored to host this inaugural summit of what I believe is the first of many such summits to follow in the future in our efforts to strengthen the cords of unity of the African peoples across the world.
In his speech, President Kenyatta cited blue economy, climate change and health as key areas of collaboration and mutual prosperity.
Both Africa and the Caribbean regions are blessed with enormous resources in the blue economy. The African continent has 38 coastal states and island states and a coastline of well over 47,000 kilometers. And for all members of states of CARICOM, they enjoy access to approximately 1 million square miles of the Caribbean Sea. This presents enormous opportunities to strengthen and foster innovative partnerships across the two regions.
President Kenyatta said climate change remains an exponential threat to the region owing to extreme swings in temperature and rainfall patterns. President Kenyatta further said COVID-19 was a wake-up call, especially for the developing world, to jolt them to build their own manufacturing capacity for vaccines and critical medical supplies.
Now, still keeping up with matters of climatic change and the ripple effect that the globe and not only just Kenya is experiencing, is that the government is focusing on a cash transfer as the most effective way of assisting households in drought-stricken counties. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa says the program has proven effective in identifying the unique needs of each family as opposed to blanket donation of relief aid.
On the second day of his tour of Garissa County, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa flagged off 7 water bowsers to various parts of the county to aid families affected by drought. The CS emphasizing the need to increase cash transfers to families affected by drought for use on their unique needs.
Lakini manyumbani pesa inaenda direct kwa household zile ambazo zimetambulika, na hata siku ya leo tuna furaha ya kwamba kwa expanded hunger safety net program, na tunaomba muambatane nasi siku ya leo, mwende mjionee wenyewe. Registration is ongoing hapa Garissa. Kile tumeambia timu zetu za NDMA
waweze kuharakisha hiyo registration, sababu tungependa kuona Garissa imejiunga na huu mpango. Pesa nyingi zaidi zije through the Hunger Safety Net cash transfer program, tusaidie jamii zetu hapo.
The CS said the Hunger Safety Net program currently being implemented would be extended to other counties of Tana River, Garissa, Samburu and Isiolo to cushion more people currently facing the alert stage of drought. The CS further toured the Lama Huran farm in Fafi, where farmers have embraced irrigation using water from Tana River towards self-sustenance, even as the government races against time to achieve food security under the Big Four Agenda Development Blueprint.
Mejionea wenyewe hapa the huge potential ya eneo hili kuchangia pakubwa agenda kuu nne za serikali, the Big Four Agenda, haswa the food security pillar. Na nataka nishukuru sana chairman wetu na members wake ambao wameshirikiana kuzalisha vyakula mbalimbali katika eneo hili wakitumia maji ya mto Tana na vile vile pesa ambazo wamepokea kupitia program yetu ya K-Dr. Deep.
Changamoto ambayo tuko naye, nafikiri mmeona yale ya kuona. Changamoto ile tuko naye ni mambo ya shida ya maji ya floods ya kuharibu shamba. Kuharibu shamba, kuna mimea nyingi ambayo tungepanda. Kama hizi ndizi sasa, floods ikija itakufa. Pau ni kitu ambayo ingefanya vizuri hapa, na papau ya hapa ni tamu sana. Lakini ikipata maji hata siku moja itakufa pia.
Well, as we take a short break and come back to matters business, just to bring you up to speed, that the West Pokot County Assembly Speaker, Catherine Mukenyang, was impeached by members of the West Pokot County Assembly. Further details are available on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, including stories from the corridors of justice, where the last two prosecution witnesses in the Willie Kimani murder case were on Tuesday took to the stand before Justice Jessila Sit. Further details, as I mentioned, are available on our website at www.kbc.co.ke. For now, we take a quick breather. We'll be right back.
Babako anajua ama akijua itakuwa. Wewe ndiye mamake Maya. Wewe ndiye mwenzangu hapa ndani ya nyumba. Wewe ndiye jicho langu. Leo amuuliza Pili Maya ameenda wapi?
Wewe ni zuzu au anifanyia madharau ama wewe ni mzuka tu kama hiyo sura yako?
Mume wangu sijamuona kutoka jana na aliniambia alikuwa na Kate. Wakili yuko wapi?
Good morning. You're watching KBC Channel 1 and this is In the Headlines, where we bring you up to speed with the stories that have been making headlines in the last 24 hours. Boniface Wagondu, Paul Ayoma, Ngeno Alfin, Barasa Enoch and Jackson Kihara, thank you very much for keeping us company. You too can keep us company and give us your feedback in regard to what we are broadcasting and what areas you think we need to continue focusing on. For now, we're just talking matters business, where the independent power producers want the government to lengthen power purchase contracts in order to reduce the capacity charges and ultimately lower the cost of electricity. The electricity producers told the National Assembly Energy Committee that the duration of the power purchase agreements of 20 years as is the case currently, means they have a shorter period to recoup their investments, hence the high cost of electricity.
The cost of electricity in Kenya is said to be high, and among factors fueling the rising bills is the high cost of production. This is mainly blamed on expensive contracts between independent power producers and Kenya Power, as well as low electricity demand in the country. In a session with independent power producers, legislators said electricity generators make more money from capacity charges than the actual power sold to Kenya Power.
80% of what you have been paid is capacity charge, and that is for energy that was never supplied. It was only for the capacity for you to generate. And you know, it is passed over to the consumer.
Legislators now want the utility firm to revise the contracts by basing payments on actual electricity consumed to help lower the overall cost of electricity in the country. But the suggestion was immediately opposed by the independent power producers, who said capacity charges are meant to cover operation costs since they were assigned the amount of work to deliver in the contracts.
I have a premises that I have leased to someone. He pays me rent. If he keeps the building locked and does not start his business for 2 months, he will still pay me rent, whether he has used it or not.
Capacity charges are being paid is just because it's a fixed asset, fixed cost because of the machinery we bought.
The electricity generators are pushing for longer power purchase contracts to lengthen the duration to recover their investments and ultimately lower the electricity charges.
If you renegotiate, then the best thing to do is to extend the period of the PPA so that within the same particular period, the capacity charge can come down.
They also believe the government should review some levies to reduce the cost of electricity.
Out of the 100 shillings that we pay for steamer, you only get value for the steamer of only 55 shillings. The others is taxes.
The county government of Nairobi, in collaboration with the private sector and the United Nations, have rolled out a pilot program that will see the use of digital billboards set up along key roads to bring real-time air pollution data and control traffic. The project, dubbed Nairobi Air Quality Awareness Demonstration, is expected to leverage on the digital platforms and expansive network infrastructure to support the air quality monitoring project to expand across more urban areas in the country.
Addressing media after handing their petition to the County Assembly of Mombasa, the health workers, led by their union leaders, requested the Assembly to treat their demands with urgency it deserves by summoning the officials from Finance Department, whom they claim are the masterminds of their suffering, saying some health workers have not received salaries for 4 months.
Tunaosema hivi, hakuna huduma za afya kabla malipo hayajafanywa yote kwa jumla. Mikopo, bima ya afya na bima zozote zinazofanywa kwa mishahara yetu. Mishahara yetu ilipo yote.
It's our prayer or our hopes that they are working day and night to ensure that they are able to access the 50% they are able to, the law allows them.
Not digital billboards there monitoring our air quality, but we want to remind you that all this is available at our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, and that particular story there we have already queued just to show, you know, and as far as we're working towards issues of climate change, the organizations as well as government that is working together to just monitor, you know, the rate of air pollution, which is just a demo. And if this actually is successful, this program might just as well roll out to other urban areas in the country. Have a look.
The central bank has been propping up the shilling through market interventions, offloading the American dollar to ease the pressure. The shilling has been oscillating between 105 and 107 to the dollar in the last year. A weaker shilling is good for exporters while it makes imports more expensive. The Kenyan economy is reeling from COVID-19 pandemic shocks that have upended supply chain and job markets. Elsewhere, the government has been urged to upscale vaccination of tourism and hospitality industry workers against COVID-19 to fast-track the recovery. Tourism is one of the sectors of our economy that has been greatly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Kilifi County Governor Amason Kingi has urged the government to prioritize frontline personnel in the tourism and hospitality industry in its vaccination drive, noting that they are among the most vulnerable to infections.
Nchi sahi iko mbio kujitafutia mbinu za kuona kwamba watalii bado wanazuru nchi zile. Na watalii kuja kwa wingi katika ufuo wa pwani ni kitu kimoja tukifanye. Mtalii atakuja katika ufuo huu wa pwani akijua wazi kwamba it's safe to do so.
Yale mataifa ambayo yanaleta watalii hapa makubwa ya kule Ulaya wanasema tutapeleka watalii wetu mahali ambapo it is a safe zone for COVID, safe zone, the green zone.
Kenya kwa jumla na hasa eneo hili la utalii letu la pwani tumewekwa katika red zone. Red zone kumaanisha kuwa si wengi walikuwa wamepokea hii vaccine na pia tumekuwa na maambukizi yaliyo juu. Japo kupitia huu upeanaji wa vaccine hii ya COVID tumeweza kupunguza haya makali ya corona.
Finally, Oppo has introduced its first 5G smartphone in the Kenyan market, joining other brands such as Nokia, Samsung and iPhone selling 5G handsets. Oppo Kenya head of projects and public relations Muthoni Wachira said the new device targets to improve photography, mobile entertainment and overall consumer experience with super high-speed mobile internet in Kenya. Kenya is the second country in Africa after South Africa to launch trials for 5G technology, heralding new opportunities that the technology provides to individual users and enterprises.
The Gideon.
Well, just to remind you that you can get further details on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, in case you want to follow up on those stories that have been making headlines in the business circles, as well as matters politics and sports. Now, the national men's volleyball team will take on former champions Egypt in their opening match today at the ongoing African Nations Championship in Kigali, Rwanda. Rwanda landed in a tricky Pool D alongside Egypt, Morocco and Tanzania.
The Gideon Tarus Chargers will take on perennial Miss Egypt in a repeat of 2017 opening fixture, where Kenya lost by 3-1 to the North Africans. Kenya will also face a tricky Morocco and Tanzania in Group D in their quest to advance to the quarterfinals. Head coach Gideon Tarus is adamant that the Kenyan team will put a good fight.
Draw imetoka, tuko bull of death, lakini tutafanya vile tutaweza. Najua Waarabu ni timu mbili, wako wazuri kwetu, lakini tutafanya vile tutaweza mpaka tuangushe hata moja ndio tukoleba kwenda quarters.
Defending champions Tunisia are drawn in Pool B alongside Nigeria, South Sudan and Ethiopia. The African Nations Championship, which runs until September 16th, has attracted 16 nations.
Well, 45 young basketball players from Africa are set to benefit from a skills development camp at the Nyayo National Stadium. The camp, organized by FIBA Africa Youth Council, is being conducted by high-profile basketball coaches from the continent and will run between the 6th and 8th of August 2021. Apparently, that is already passed, but that is definitely going to be happening next year.
The camp draws a total of 45 elite young basketball players, including 12 girls and 4 boys from Kenya and 16 other African countries, among them Malawi, South Africa, Tanzania, Botswana and Cameroon. The rising basketball players are set to learn life skills, combining basketball and education, leadership, character development, health and wellness.
And having these young talents here is just a fantastic experience. And as a group of coaches, we are trying to get them to improve their skills in order to move to the next level.
The program has drawn young players aged below 17 years who also stand a chance of starting their careers at an NBA academy.
This is opportunities, right? And just the value in sport to change the trajectory of kids' lives. To see all the skilled coaches and the kids coming out positive and excited about this camp. It's very important in their own journeys, not just from a basketball skill type of investment, but also in the life skills, what they take home, how it builds their character, how it builds community, how it brings unity. I think it's extremely important and much needed on the continent, and that's why it's special.
Empowering youth and do scouting for the NBA Academy. So giving them opportunity. I'm the president of the Olympian Association and just working on my charity organization, Olumide Youth Foundation. For the last 21 years that I established, I've touched over 40,000 youth live. So basketball, sport management, empowerment, giving helping hands to the underprivileged youth and providing helping hands.
Joe Tomu, the former NBA scout, challenged upcoming players not to be bound by any limits, saying one's mind formed an integral part of his understanding of the game as well.
I've never kind of looked down on a player because he or she is not tall. You can always compensate size with intelligence. You can compensate size with speed. And you can compensate size with toughness. And I always tell players who don't have the height that, listen, as long as you're smart, as long as you have the skills, you can compete against the tall ones.
The camp, which will also be held in Sali, Senegal, and Abidjan in Ivory Coast, is meant to help grow and improve basketball in Africa.
Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa presided over the opening ceremony of a 4-month-long CAF B license course at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. Mwendwa reiterated the Federation's commitment to coaching education, noting that it is the only way Kenya can nurture talented footballers.
Literally every week of 54
who would hold CAF C licenses, among them Equity head coach John Baraza, Tuskers assistant George Maina, Bidco United's Anthony Amkulia, Sofapaka team manager Hilary Echesa, and former Harambee Starlets international Doreen Nabwire. The Federation has so far trained over 4,000 coaches at the CAF D license level and over 600 coaches at the CAF C license level. CAF B license course is the first in the country in over 10 years.
In the country, in a county somewhere. This is unprecedented. This has never been done. This is the job that I promised to do. Pass on the knowledge to as many people, certify them, let them go to the most low level of places and train the kids, and you will begin to see these kids coming through.
It is a matter of trying to improve football in Kenya, first of all, as a whole, and wherever we are, because I believe that for him as a president, his success is to build coaches who can come and educate other youngsters who are coming around. And for me, being in the class, it is something which I want to learn more, because it's not just about football playing. But again, you need to be given in knowledge which you can go and transform to the other coaches who are around here in Kenya.
That brings a cap to matters in the headlines. Remember, we have so much more in store for you. For now, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
All
All right, so this is our focus today. This is Nakuru-Nairobi highway, and the major reason as why we'll be focusing on this specific route is because of that statement by Kenha that was late last year, that this particular road in terms of construction was expected to begin this year. Didn't quite put a specific time to it, however they had mentioned September but not specific date. So it simply means that beginning this month of September, this road in terms of construction expansion from a single to a dual carriage road is supposed to take place, and also part of what will be inclusive on this particular route will be not just expanding it to a dual carriage road but to an all 4-lane road, simply because it's one of those key, very instrumental roads in terms of transportation of people from Nairobi up to the parts of Western as well as Nyanza part of the country, and also in terms of transportation of cargo even beyond the country up until areas of Uganda. So this one of those roads that is famously known as the Northern Corridor. And obviously, just going by what you're saying this morning, this is how this route usually looks like. And especially when you have so many of those trucks, they are heavy kind of traffic. Also in terms of accident, we record high number of accidents, especially during December, January time. So this is part of the reason as why they want to expand this specific route, at least to make it as a dual carriage road, to ease on that traffic flow and also make it easy when it comes to the transportation of people as well as cargo. So I'll be telling you more about this particular project, which firms are going to be undertaking this project, and under which system or form it's going to be undertaken. First of all, it's going to take a period of 3 years. That's what they mentioned. But also there's a specific form in which the project will be undertaken in this span of 3 years, which, like I mentioned, I'll be telling you more about this project and how also it's expected to shape how Nairobi-Nakuru highway is going to look like, just minus ease of traffic flow and easy transportation of people. So for now, just a quick look on that traffic flow along that specific route, and this is actually that area, just beginning from areas around Maimahiu as you head over all the way to Naivasha, Nakuru there, and also just leave before you get to that specific area as you leave areas of Nairobi from places of Kikuyu, Kinod, before you get to that particular section. This is how it's looking like this morning in terms of traffic. Not so bad. Perhaps you can begin from Kikuyu just before you get to areas around Maimahiu, Rironi, Mau Summit, all the way up until Nakuru, and this is how the section is looking like, moving at a very, very swift pace, beginning from areas of Kino there, coming all the way to Kikuyu, all the way via Wayaki Way. The beauty is that this is actually on both lanes, moving at a very, very swift pace, no traffic at all. The same is also being witnessed around areas of Uthiru, Green, all through, just in some small sections before you get to Kino is where the traffic begins to slightly build up, but at least altogether manageable kind of traffic. So it simply means that perhaps if you're heading to areas of Wayaki Way up until perhaps areas of Maimahiu there, not so bad for you. Also, if you're leaving perhaps those areas of Nyanza, Western, and you're around this particular sections, perhaps coming to Nairobi again, not so bad for you. Smooth sailing ultimately simply means that we do not need to look at any alternative routes. This is how the road is looking like. In fact, that continues past the areas of Kino, Uthiru, Kikuyu there, up until you get to areas around Maimahiu. And again, this is actually that area where there has been a lot of construction still happening up until now. It has taken a bit of some time. They haven't really quite put a specific reason as to why that one has stalled, but it has really taken a long period of time for this particular construction there. But when it comes to traffic, again, not so bad. The same continues up until even past Maimahiu as you head over to areas around Mau Summit, going all the way to Rironi, and up until that area, which is our focus this morning, areas of Nakuru there. Also again, the same being witnessed around Naivasha Road, still not so bad, moving at a very, very fast pace, and this is why we are seeing and witnessing most of that green color, which is a clear indicator of that. So that's how it's looking like in terms of traffic this morning. We're just simply focusing on what is happening along this specific route, and as I mentioned, I'll be giving you how the project progresses and how it is expected to shape how Nakuru-Nairobi highway is going to look altogether.
All right, so now let's take a look at what's on the front pages of our local dailies here to get you updated as well from the traffic and from the bulletin there. Now, what's happening on the papers? And on the front page of the Star, One Kenya Alliance in limbo as Moi and Musalia make fresh plans. Oka in limbo as Moi and Musalia make fresh plans. ANC KANU signaled that go it alone. In 2022, Mudavadi eyes running mate from Central as Gideon ally, promises earth-shattering announcement. That is on the front page of the Star newspaper. And still on the front page, Raila, I will resign if I fail to deliver. In what confirms he will be on the ballot in the August 2022 presidential election. The ODM leader yesterday said that he has the remedy to the ills bedeviling the youth, and should it fail to work, he will pave the way for another leader. Now, he promised to position Kenya as an ICT and e-commerce hub. Now, that is a clear indication that Honorable Raila will be on the ballot, based on what he said there yesterday. Again, still on politics, will expose all land Kenyatta's own. That is according to Rigathi Gachagua. Madira MP Rigathi Gachagua has said Tanga will expose land owned by the Kenyatta family in response to increased attacks on Deputy President William Ruto. He said that they will no longer respond to allegations made by individuals who appear to have been sent by Uhuru. All right. So, on the front page, that is what's there. Okay, Cohen widow protests over her death, the death of her dog under KSPCA. Custody of the canines was among issues in the legal battle, and she said that she was informed of Major's death. That is according to her. Let me just give it to you. Sarah Wairimu revealed the dog died while in the care of Kenya's Society for the Protection and Care of Animals in Karen. This is despite her fruitless efforts to take care of the two pets named Major and Snow of the Labrador and Rottweiler breed and Rottweiler and Doberman breed. The custody of the dogs was among the issues at the center of the a legal battle in court. So she said that according to her, SPCA on June 26, 2021 said that the dog had suffered from cancer. That is what's there, and she's now protesting over the death of her pet. Okay, so the story of One Kenya Alliance future in limbo. It is emerged that the Collapsed Building Bridges initiative could have fundamentally bolstered plans by the big boys to craft a broad-based alliance. ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi yesterday said that he could pick his 2022 running mate from Mount Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta's backyard. The announcement raised the question of what positions his Oka partners would hold were he to be picked the alliance flag bearer. All right. The Oka principals are Mudavadi, Kanu's Gideon Moi, Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, and Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya. It has also emerged that Gideon Moi could have changed his mind about backing someone else for the presidency. And speculation is rife that Gideon could also go all the way to the ballot to compete with the Deputy President William Ruto for the heart and soul of Rift Valley. So, some boiling pot in One Kenya Alliance house. We had the discussion some times ago with our analyst and said that One Kenya Alliance was, after the death of the BBI, everybody was now scampering for safety politically speaking, in terms of who is going to get what position. That all collapsed. But then now they are going to have that, the elephant in the room was who was going to be the flag bearer in the One Kenya Alliance coalition. And now it seems that none of them is budging.
And that was the conversation there was a while back on the Daily Nation, just after they had the meeting in Naivasha. According to a source that was in that meeting, they revealed that none of the principals are willing to step down for the other. And once the BBI political lifeline was pulled away, there only remains to be one position of presidency and The deputy.
The deputy.
But no one wants to deputize the other, and no one wants to step down for the other when it comes to the top job. So sasa ni confusion galore. Nakumbuka jana tukisema tunakuanga na viewpoint, sasa tutakuwa na boiling point.
Boiling point.
In regards to our politics.
All right.
Now, let me just pick it up here with the Daily Nation. Again, the top story here on the header, Ruto's running mate. Again, that headache is something that is bothering the deputy president and his team, because now the question is, whom will he pick from the vote-rich Mount Kenya region? And that story has been highlighted here on page 4 of the Daily Nation. And they go ahead and front some potential viable candidates. We have Anne Waiguru, Mwangi Kiunjuru, Justin Muturi, Mwangi Wairia, Kathure Kindiki rather, and Kiraito Murongi. Regina, I'm sorry. Muronge, I am sorry. I withdraw and apologize.
Yes, please.
Kiraito Muronge.
Yes,
Muronge. There we go.
Yes, the governor.
Good. So according to DP and his handlers, they have identified these 6 as potential running mates, but nothing is conclusive. And looking at this, they say that these are viable and acceptable candidates, and especially so from the vote-rich Mount Kenya region. But the question still remains, whom is he going to pick, and should they be picked, will they accept to be his running mate? That is what we have here in regards to Deputy President William Ruto. And then the other stories in regards to paying the price for justice, and this is in regards to the prices that have been reviewed upwards by CJ Koome as she introduced higher fees for filing court cases, and this is after the judiciary got a slash in their budget from the initial 18.1 billion rather in the last financial year to 17.9 billion this financial year. And of course, these charges have already been uploaded rather, but according to lawyers and the legal fraternity, they have raised concerns over these steep charges, quote unquote, and saying that some matters and documents are still not functional on the in regards to the information that has been uploaded. So that is one of the changes that she has done from her predecessor's term.
Perhaps what are figures there, if you
let me just highlight briefly. Looking at the court library membership, the annual subscription was 500 Kenya shillings. Now it has doubled to 1,000 Kenya shillings. Any type of application at the High Court, except criminal matters, the old fees were 750. Now they're doubled to 1,500. Registration of arbitration awards at the Environment and Lands Court, old fees were 2,250. The new fees, 10,100.
Yeah, I think basically it will be for people who are seeking for justice, you know,
a high price to pay.
Exactly. Seeking for justice will be so expensive. From 2,000 to file an application in the courts to 10,000 shillings. So probably most people will have.
And these are cases that involve land.
Exactly.
You can imagine how many of those we have and the backlog. Because these fees have already been uploaded. They have already been instituted. So it's just a question of them starting to be applied.
All right.
Anywho, now let me come to the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation. Kama hauna mtoto ako CBC, prepare. But now in regards to this particular story inside the CBC mock test for grade 5, this is a pilot mock exam that, or rather assessment. We are done with the exam terminology, but the assessment, the grade 5 mock assessment is set to take place towards the end of this month, and this is meant to be the pilot of the actual grade 6 assessment that will be done next year for this first cohort under the CBC curriculum. This particular assessment that will be running from the 27th of this month, that is September, up until the 1st of October, is meant to just assess the effectiveness of the CBC thus far, and also just identify the loopholes that there still may be before the actual grade 6 assessment that will be done next year as we usher this cohort into junior secondary as is expected. Now, there have been so many complaints from teachers, parents when it comes to the CBC, and especially looking at the implementation, with the teachers complaining about infrastructure and preparation of the CBC, and on the other hand, parents complaining about the heavy involvement that CBC has come with, especially on the learners and the projects that they have to undertake with the learners. And of course, this is well in line with the CBC curriculum, and I can tell you as a parent who has a child who is under the CBC curriculum, it gets real. It gets real. Some of the projects, and then to make it worse, unapata mtoto anakuambia saa 3 usiku kasi umeshalala, anakuja, Mom, we need an alien for tomorrow's project. Can I get one? Unashindwa sasa. Where do we even start?
From Utopia.
Because the things that they ask for, they are not things that we under when we were in the 844 system ever even thought of, leave alone have. But now it is very practical, it is very hands-on, it is very involving also with the parents. So looking at this particular piloting of this the assessment, the mock assessment that the grade 5 are going to be doing, it's just going to give them an overview of what they should expect when it comes to the actual transitioning assessment next year. We're looking at grade 6. Doreen.
All right, so let's come to the People's Daily. Perhaps you can begin from that matters of politics and picking of a running mate. So even as that is happening at the national politics level, we also have that for governors, and this is specific in Kakamega County, where running mate factor in running mate factor.
Hey. Breathe in, breathe out.
Running mate factor in Kakamega County. So a number of them have already.
Did you hear that? Wait, that doesn't pass.
Okay, fine. Let's
drumstick or
mabawa.
Mabawa. Which you got?
And then this story kwanza ni watu wa Kakamega. Maybe this is why. This is why. All right. So a number of them have already popularized their bid, key among them being Kakamega Senator, that is Cleopas Malala, there's former Senator Boni Halwale, and the biggest issue, just going by this particular article, is how all of them are going to pick a running mate, given the fact that party affiliation is also a major issue, as some of the possible running mates are unwilling to quit their current parties and join gubernatorial candidates who belong to other parties. So that is what is happening in that particular county, even as the race for 2022 is still on. Coming still back to politics, the Ruto headache for Uhuru, as president and his allies want the deputy out of the party, but nobody knows how to eject him. And just to read a bite from the SecGen Jubilee party, that is Raphael Tuju, he says he will not resign, referring to the DP. He is not that type of person. We know him. Let us concentrate on 2022. There's a lot that has been happening in regards to the deputy president. Just, some saying that we need to show actually how he has made his wealth. And there's, again, a lot of conversation surrounding him. And the question is just, why is all this happening now? We also have militia strike a day after state tightened security in Laikipia. We of course know what has been happening in that particular county, cases of insecurity there, but also the Interior CS Fred Matiang'i had mentioned that they are trying to get a permanent solution to this insecurity issues in Laikipia County, and part of what he mentioned is that this actually has nothing to do with pastures, much as there could be theft of those pastures there, but he says this is all politically instigated, and that's why they're trying to get and find a permanent solution to what is happening there. Coming to health matters, just going by that surveyed by Infotrack, is that majority of people live on borrowed time, and 68% of the surveyed health workers noted that health facilities in their counties and areas coped poorly when the nurses were on strike. Also, just going by that particular survey, it showed that for those that were heavily affected, especially during that nurses strike, were those people that had underlying conditions, and they were the worst hit amongst various issues that came out from that particular survey there. Ray.
What can I say? It seems the scribes have eloquently put it out and, giving us a sneak peek of what is making headlines in the last 24 hours. Matters of politics, matters of CBC continue taking center stage. But before we give you further details, we take a quick breather. We'll be right back.
Since the day that we met, I've never been able to give her happiness.
General, you know what? You're a traitor for disobeying. Do you think you can actually get out of here alive?
If you don't want her to kill herself, release me now. You see. So they want us to think struck. So they want us to feel struck.
Uncle Mark, get out.
Mzee, unaona mimi sina ubaya.
Wewe, tupatane kotini.
But for how long do you have this house for? Alafu nikikosa kupata kazi for the next 3 months.
Pete, I told you my savings can last us for at least 4 months.
But why do you go behind my back and then you do all those things without consulting me? Are you a lawyer? Ongea kitu yako. Ongea.
Let's do this.
Welcome back. This is In the Headlines on KBC Channel 1. Good morning, Kenya. Now, we were just giving you a sneak peek of what has been captured in our various dailies. I have a copy of the Standard with me, and it goes back to that situation we highlighted for you. Matters of politics. The bromance that we used to see between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto is no longer there. But the question of divorce between these two, how feasible is it? Is it anchored by the law? Is it possible as far as a political act is concerned? Now, this particular article goes with divorce. Uhuru is stuck with deputy. Why? Now, according to Kianduru Twitter, Gwandaru Twitter, he says, on impeachment, 2/3 of all National Assembly and Senate members are required at all order, considering the support Ruto attracts and his financial resources. On the other hand, Kabado says, former Mukurweini MP, says the so-called Uhuru Ruto dynamo brain cannot be transplanted. The Constitution protects the deputy president against any removal except through impeachment, which is now not possible. But is it, what do you think with the current political headwinds that are blowing left, right and center? We're already having a deputy president there who is, you know, hunting for the running mate for CAMP 2022. And we have seen a few names being dropped here and here, a possible talk of, you know, some of those who have put in their cast or have already thrown their die into the chessboard in regard to Malta's, you know, 2022. Do you think it's possible? Well, we are open to your feedback, and this is just giving your view. Remember, there is freedom of speech, and we welcome that particular feedback. You can reach us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 News. Now, limited options find its well on the front page of the Standard this morning, where despite trying all tricks in the political book to get Ruto to exit government, the president finds himself in a difficult space and now has to contend with his second in command. As we said, we are in the political season. It seems that we never stopped politicking after the elections there, and 2022 is just but around the corner. On the other hand, matters of politics, where Mudavadi says he is not going to, you know, bow down to the edicts of Raila or Ruto, that he's still and he's ready to meet the two come 2022 on the ballot box. We all remember, and I want to take you down memory lane. Allow me, Victor, I'll be engaging you firmly on this. Remember when we were working towards the previous elections, not this ones.
Yeah.
There was talk about the third horse, remember? And this third horse was said to include Peter Kenneth, Martha Karua and Musalia Mudavadi. They were to ink an agreement here at the CBD, and the venue actually was to be, I think, the Jivanji Gardens. Kenyans were waiting for the third horse, and after waiting for so long, the three, remember it was a deadline, you know, to submit this. One of the horsemen was nowhere to be seen. Following day, we hear now President Uhuru Kenyatta saying that it was the work of the devil. And that is how Musalia Mudavadi missed an opportunity to ink that particular agreement that would have given birth to the third horse. Victor, from where you sit, ANC party leaders' message to Raila and Ruto. Give me your take.
All right, mine will be very brief. You know, first of all, it all started from the collapse of the BBI, that is one. And all the principals in the defunct NASA coalition, all of them were equal partners, according to them. So once NASA broke up, all of them felt that they were having that equal opportunity to run this country. But then now the question was who was going to be better than the other person. Even as the BBI collapsed, now it was now time for them to start looking for votes from all walks of country. Remember, you've seen Musalia Mudavadi already going out there, you know, moving from one particular country to from county to county, so to speak, because in the past, he was accused of just concentrating in Western region. Exactly. That people accused him of, you know, having ANC as a community party instead of having a national party. Now, everybody is now trying to get their own manifesto out there, bit by bit, although they are not giving us the full dose. But if you look at how they're articulating their issues, Musalia Mudavadi is now moving as a force. Everybody from the NASA coalition, talk of Kalonzo Musyoka, nobody wants to deputize another or the other person. Now, the question that most people will be asking themselves moving forward is, Raila Odinga is here. Atachukua nani? Kalonzo Musyoka also not ready to deputize anybody else, and anasema yeye he's going to the ballot direct. who is going to be the deputy president. Musalia Mudavadi says that his experience, he's an economist, and his work is to turn around the economy in this particular country. The question is, nani atakuwa deputy wake?
Ama yeye atakubali kuwa deputy.
You get it. So even that question we talked about with our analyst here yesterday and yesterday but one, and they all agree that it's now going to be the toughest exam and test for all these presidential flag bearers, people who have already declared their presidency and they stand to run for the top seat, on who to pick. Now, and my question was, is it a must to go to Mount Kenya? Yes, we all know Mount Kenya has a voice. But kama mtu ametoka tu from nowhere saying I'm going to pick a Borana as my running mate, what would happen? I'm going to pick a Kisii, I'm going to pick a Kuria, I'm going to pick somebody from Giriama, you know, from nowhere. What would happen?
Good question. And I want to point to the 2019 survey, population survey, that shows what community has the numbers. Because when we're walking towards the general election, issues of numbers come into play. Oh, yes. And over the years, our history has gone ahead and showed us that we forget the policies, the strategies, the slogans, the manifestos. We go back to where do I come from, my name and such. So the game of numbers will still come into play. And I like the question that you've posed. What if these people went for a Borana, as you say, the marginalized communities, or even the Wayu community? Would they still have what it takes to get, is it the 50+1?
Yes,
or is it going to be a simple majority? We do not know.
50+1.
But then the question would be, if, I'm looking at it this way, if I was to be approached, and I'm saying hypothetically, and if I was in the political scene, and I already know what is happening, that a deputy president, or rather a running mate, is very important at this point, might actually mean a fail or a win. Neza ringa sana.
Regardless.
Man,
regardless.
You see,
I would set the bar so high, and I think that's why each and every person who's already cast their die for the presidential position or seat come 2022 is doing everything that they can marshal people behind them so that they can have clout, so that when they come to the negotiation table, they say, by the way, I will be delivering X.
Regina, you see, the danger in having that is we all see what's happening across the country right now. If you happen to pick a deputy from a population, let me say from one tribe, okay, not to mention any, then perhaps what you're seeing, the difference and the cracks between the deputy and his boss, the deputy might feel so entitled because he'll say or she will say that you are there because of me, okay, because of our numbers. Kama si mimi aungekuwa hapo. But then that is the reason why nimeuliza swali, are we able now to change the narrative and say one of these presidential aspirants would just, you know, from nowhere say, I'm going to pick my deputy from a marginalized community, and then sell that person to the country?
You know, Vic, something that we as a people that we need to actually just accept for what it is, is that our politics, for as long as we have known in our country, always have an ethnic inclination. Tribes have always had power when it comes to our politics.
And politicians know that.
And politicians know that. And they leverage on that, they exploit that. This is why you are saying them saying, I'm going to go to this region, then next week I'm going for the Kikuyu vote, the other week I'm going for the Kalenjin vote, then I'm going for the Luya vote, then I'm going for the Kisii vote, then I go for the Giriama vote. It is never I'm going to tour this place without mentioning the tribe. And that is something that, as long as our politicians continue to use, they will always have an upper hand over the people when it comes to either uniting or dividing us.
They've mastered the art.
They're very strategic when they say the vote reached 6 million Mount Kenya vote.
It has to be that specific number.
Your word.
Someone is giving you a formula.
Hakuna politician anakosanga kutumia hiyo the vote reach
region.
That's count.
6 million
Mount
Kenya region. Right. Maruske. Mount Kenya split in the middle.
We've never had a
actually. That was actually a good question you asked, Victor, there. But you see that just the way you're trying to say that is the major problem. And again, if you look at how even the Western region was looking like, that's what they kept talking about. Can there be unity in that area? Can there be unity in the Western region? Because they fully understand how when you get an entire area to be united, how that is going to mean to any political aspirant. And yes, perhaps it may be a good direction to try and venture into that. Perhaps any of these aspirants, can anyone just speak a running mate from those marginalized area, even someone that perhaps you do not know them, perhaps even begin to groom them. But how dangerous is that?
For them, that is not politically viable.
It can be something good because at least you're trying to explore other options.
It's not. But it's not a political survival line.
It's not.
Here it's political suicide.
And Victor,
for them.
there's someone who is giving you a formula. He goes by the name Jackson. He says, Victor.
Yes.
When push comes to shove, that's when the math comes in. Hesabu, I don't know if you remember this formula. Politicians vying for presidency use board mass.
Brackets of
division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction.
Right?
Wow.
How can you pick a running mate from another region and Mount Kenya has the highest number of voters? Board mass. That is from Jackson Kehara, who is watching from Nairobi area. And also on Twitter, we have our viewer Marangu Alfred, who says, I'm watching from Upper Hill. This normally happens, and goes further to say Kalonzo is not going to join others. Mudavadi the same. Moi the same. So who will step up for the others? Meaning Ruto or Raila will automatically win.
And let me tell you,
in all this,
because everyone now wants to go independently because no one wants to step down for either.
Let me tell you, Doreen, politics is always calculated. There's nothing random. Mimi nakwambia wacha ifike December or March, vile these politicians will unite and align. Tutaitana. Tuko hapa tukidhani we have how many presidential candidates? There's Raila, there's Deputy President William Ruto, there's Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, there's the one that was made here on Good Morning Kenya yesterday. There was a presidential declaration was made here. We are seeing almost 10 aspirants.
But
wacha ifike March. But mutakumbuka the words that His Excellency said. Come together, unite behind Raila Odinga. I will give you my support. But if pande muone wame unite under this leader, tutakuwa na candidates wawili ama watatu max.
So, but what if the way we are saying that politics, elections actually calculated, and then we have all these many aspirants?
It's just random.
So that we can have space for these two that we know of. So wakiwa independent like that, it's like nothing as opposed to when they are united. So maybe it's actually they're supposed to be that way, so that these two can now contend among, because it's actually calculated.
Wataleta kwa hii chaos.
When you're wooing a girl, definitely you want that girl. You have to put your best foot forward. Na unaanzanga kupiga kelele kutoka mbali. Who are her brothers, her sisters, before you even come to the homestead. You do away with all the other. And now the girl here is Wanjiko's vote. We have so many suitors. But my question is, as a girl,
Wanjiko pick?
As Wanjiko, have we raised our bar high up? Or are we going to lower it for just any person to actually take our hand come the general elections 2022?
Me nakwambia Regina, we're in a toxic relationship.
Very toxic.
After elections,
because we keep having this conversations every election year. We keep having this conversation.
We'll have a lot of work because there'll be so much happening. will be spoiled for choice.
Then you remember there's the fourth force.
My question is, have we come of age as Wanjiku? Have we come of age to say, you know what, I am looking beyond your third name. I'm looking beyond where you come from.
That will remain a question. Politics will negate that question at the right time.
Tajo, if the bar has been raised or how low it is.
You will raise that question pretty well.
You
know, advising the Monanchi, but kuna hiyo time itafika, there is that euphoria.
What happens that we forget ourselves? What happens that we forget that the economy, when the value of the shilling goes down, we all feel it. When the cost of education goes up, we feel it. Yeah. Right now we are talking about how CBC is running into headwinds.
Yeah.
Now we are already talking about the issue of drought. We are talking about why electricity is expensive as it is.
It is okay.
We are united right now, but come the day we go to the ballot, we remember, I come from the mountain that I understand is split. I don't know.
And we forget about
you come from the western region.
We forget about electricity.
I don't know.
Kidhai anaandika ngoma. Tutasahau.
Itawakumbusha.
Tutasahau.
I think we need to have an exit clause. And I remember when we were passing the Constitution 2010, there was an aspect that if our leaders do not perform as per what the constituents want, that we will get an opportunity to shove them out. But over the years, we have seen, even with impeachment trials happening, but when it gets to the Senate, the persons get reinstated. It has been very good on paper, but we have not seen it materialize. Man.
Isn't that also what former Premier just declared? Should he fail to deliver, he will willingly resign and step aside for the next person.
Said Raila, I'll resign if I fail to deliver.
We wait to see that. It's one thing to say it, it's a different story to do it.
Na nataka kuuliza.
Niko na maswali nyingi leo.
Niko na swali, Victor.
Regina, yes.
And I know I come from the mountain and it is split and all that. Niko na swali.
Wewe kwanza ni wa west.
So I even don't know. I even don't know if it's a windward, leeward. I don't know. I've never heard of a mountain split. I am hearing it now. So Victor, so Raila Odinga says that if he doesn't clinch the presidency 2022, he will resign.
No, if he's the president and fails to deliver,
he will resign.
If we choose him as the president and he fails to deliver, he will resign and willingly step aside for the next
Just going by what
candidates.
you're saying.
Look at the age factor. I'm bringing in the age factor. Victor, you know what I'm not saying. Look at the age factor. I'm just saying factor.
The age factor.
My mountain is showing. The age factor. If yes, I am president and I do not deliver, I will resign. Was there another option as far as age is concerned? Remember, we've been talking about why 2022 is a do or die.
All right. I think what we can just have right now is to hold him and wait,
to
if at all, to his word. He's a politician, and we all know that every statement they make is political.
Good. Talking about Kenyans, before you continue, I want you to add what Kalonzo says into that statement. Kalonzo says, on the other hand, that if he is president, he will offer free education. To you, Victor, you were saying?
Yeah. So politicians will always make appealing statements. And I can assure you, Kenyans love politics.
Yeah.
What sells to me and to the masses out there are the promises. We work pretty well, Kenyans work pretty well under promises, and so are human beings. If you can promise me that if I do this, this is what you're going to give me as a reward, then perhaps somebody will go out there and deliver. But then, as a media, that was captured. At one point, remember, media, we don't forget. More so, this particular station, our library goes back to way years ago. We'll always go back to the library and play it for you. So If you'll deliver, Honorable Raila Odinga, well and good. If you'll not, according to your word, again, it will be a matter of wait and see.
Politics 101.
Politics 101.
Come on.
We have a few minutes to end in the headlines. Okay. So, talk about politics, ladies. There's a bill, the bill scrapping degrees for lawmakers tabled in Senate. We saw this coming. It has been long
time coming.
So it is a race again. It's time to save politicians without degrees, as two bills seeking to scrap the requirement were tabled in the Senate yesterday. The identical bills, the Election Amendment Bill 2021, were introduced in the House for the first reading in an apparent spirited attempt to save aspiring politicians without degree certificates. The bills are amending Section 22 of the Election Act 2011, which requires all candidates for political seats to have a degree qualification from the next election. They are sponsored by Senators Kipchumba Murkomen of Elgeyo Marakwet and Ledama Olekina of Narok. This bill was supposed to take effect in the last election, but it was thwarted because they argued there was time factor there, and they were given another time, 10 years down the line, for people to acquire degree certificates, but then again, it has not worked. So it's in the Senate for the first reading. Chances are, will it go through? Yes or no? Okay.
I have one question.
Yes.
Whenever anyone applies for a job, kuna kwanga na JD and qualifications that you and requirements that you need to meet in order to get that job. And we never get exceptions. So why is it such a big deal for our politicians to accept that they need to have this as part of their requirements to get these positions? And you know, kidogo tudi, there are those that argue we have very good leaders that we will be locking out because of this requirement. And especially looking at the local level, because it gets to a certain point where a certain office requires a certain level of education in order to be competent enough to perform. But looking at also this narrative, do you think these exceptions that we make here and there are what, in the long run, come to bite us back?
Oh well, but you had some say that leadership is God-given, that leaders are people that can understand the needs of the people, and some would say that having that education background, that degree, diploma, whatever it is, does not in any way make you understand our needs. So your question is quite valid. That could be true in essence, but might it come to bite us?
You know, Doreen, even, let me use this example with Regina. You know, Ray, looking at your kids, you know what is innate and what they have acquired through education.
Yep.
And you know for a fact that there's some things that they're very good at, but without having gone through the education that they have, they wouldn't have been able to polish up or understand how to execute these innate skills or abilities that they're born with.
Yes.
So looking at this argument that some leaders are
chosen by God.
Born chosen leaders, and having the education requirement will be locking them out, is it surely a valid argument?
It is not founded anywhere, not even in law or anything, because what is the role of the legislature? It is to come up with law. So what will you be doing as a leader who is charged with, you know, legislation, and you even do not understand what it is that you're doing? Secondly, the issue that leaders are chosen by God. But if we go back to what the faith, the Christian doctrine talks about leadership, leadership that is founded by Christ is about servant leadership, where I want to take you back to the Bible. Jesus washed his disciples' feet, right? That is a source of, that is a kind of leadership when they talk about God chosen, appointed. the Christian doctrine is about servant leadership. But how many of our leaders, let's just give a blanket overview today, a blanket overview. How many have gotten their hands dirty? We're not talking about this year. We're talking about even last year or even beginning of their term, to even just help the lives of their constituents. How many? Or do they just like hearing, yes, Mheshimiwa, yes, umesema, yes, yes. It's all about them taking but never giving. So from where I sit at this point, the Constitution, the spirit of the Constitution was good because it foresaw what we require as a law to elevate our status as Kenya. But the people who are charged with the implementation lack the goodwill to actually see this through. And we have just predicted these bills that want to scrap that particular aspect might as well sail through.
And you know, we have seen instances where, looking at the National Assembly when they're having the motions and debates, we have seen some members struggle to communicate. When they go on ground, and these videos usually turns to memes.
And we laugh about it.
Some have struggled with basic communication. Then you want to support that you shouldn't be required to have a certain level of education to run for public office? How will you express my concerns and my ideas? Mimi kama mama mbogo huko hivyo chini, mwenye siwezi ongea hiyo kizungu. How will you go express what the local people need to other members and the powers that be above you to be able to get the assistance that you need to come and help me?
Good question. Good question. And on that communication, we take a breather. We'll be right back.
Akijua itakuwa. Wewe ndiye mamake Maya. Wewe ndiye mwenzangu hapa ndani ya nyumba. Wewe ndiye jicho langu. Leo amuuliza Pili Maya ameenda wapi?
Wewe ni zuzu au anifanyia madharau ama wewe ni mzuka tu kama hiyo sura yako?
Mume wangu sijamuona kutoka jana na aliniambia alikuwa na Kate. Wakili yuko wapi?
Chini ya uongozi wa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali inawekeza zaidi katika miradi inayowasaidia wakulima wadogo kote nchini. Wiki hii kwenye Project 254.
Our focus is on those sectors whose value chains will provide opportunities for our people and therefore create more jobs.
Sasa watu wetu wa huko mtoni wanavuna, wanapata pesa, wanaenda na saidia watoto wao. Na sisi tunasaidika.
Kama ingekuwa hii maji, sisi wafugaji tungekuwa tumemalizika kabisa. So tunashukuru serikali kwa kuletea Bura Irrigation Scheme maji na wazidi kumuongezea.
Dancing because it's a different side of me that's fun and you enjoy the moment. I lost my leg in the year 2020 when I was diagnosed with cancer for the second time.
Today I'm going to show you guys on how to make the perfect salad, which you can enjoy with a side of chicken or with a side of bhajia.
Today we'll be dealing with clay, and we'll be making a slipper out of clay.
Like a David, watch and go zero look like a baby.
And welcome to the program. And at this particular point, let's now turn our focus and talk matter security. In particular, let's talk about Laikipia region. And in studio, I'm joined via Zoom is the Rift Valley Regional Commissioner, that is George Natembea. There you have him, joining me via Zoom all the way from Nakuru. Let's just get straight into it. Bwana RC, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Let's just get straight into it. And let me ask you this question direct. What is happening in Laikipia?
We've had some issues in Laikipia where criminals have been harassing people. You remember when we began the operation in Baringo, it went very well. And some of those people who were causing problems in the Baringo moved into Laikipia and found a hideout in the Laikipia Nature Conservancy, where they've been operating from, moving out of the conservancy, stealing from residents, especially in Olmoran and Olmoran division in Laikipia West, and Narwa division in Nauru sub-county. So that's the status of things as of now, and of course the government has been responding, of course, quite routinely, because the challenge was big. Of course, later on it was compounded by the fact that we had a drought in Isiolo and also in Samburu, and again more herders from those two counties also came into the Laikipia Nature Conservancy and joined those that come from Baringo. So the numbers, as we speak, are very big. Yes. And
RC, just to put it this way, it seems that this usually happens during electioneering period. Could you please just confirm if this is a situation?
There's a lot of post-politics involved in the sense that there are people strongly believe that large tracts of land in Laikipia belong to the ancestors. A concept which I believe is silly. When you look at our land laws, people like whipping up emotions around this time. And they give in to their community demands. If the people say we are heading to Laikipia, they won't tell them that those parcels of land are privately owned. They'll support them. Number two, looking at the owners of those herds of cattle, most of them are senior politicians and some senior people in government. And it's indeed true that around this political season, that's when we see some of these things happening. So there's a lot of political intrigue there. And for Laikipia North, actually, the member of parliament that strongly believes that if the Samburus come into Laikipia, most of them have been eyeing her seat and they may register Laikipia North and actually vote her out. So there's a lot of politics involved in this thing.
And what is the political goodwill from the politicians in that region?
The political goodwill in terms of them not opposing what the government is doing is actually there. But in terms of them supporting the operation, I think I can confidently say they have not done much. Of course, politicians do what they always do. in terms of coming in and saying the government has done nothing, criticizing. And when they talk, you get the feeling that some of them don't even understand the issues involved, and even the actual theater of some of these conflicts. They criticize the government for not providing what the government has actually already provided. And it's not like we stop them from attending meetings so they want to praise them, but I think they're just busy doing their own thing. And they only come in when they hear that some of us are also going there. So they'll come there and do their criticism and go away. And of course, there are things that the political leadership, especially the members of parliament and the county government, are supposed to do. The members of parliament, of course, are supposed to support maybe in the construction of security facilities, because many of the other functions they were doing actually devolved the county. So they just remained with the playing some bit of role in security and also in education. So because we lack our facilities, we think that the political leadership sort of president can come in and even actually improve the security facilities out there. Like in Olumoran, we have a police station there, but because of lack of facilities, there's only 11 police officers. We can do with more houses there so that we can have more officers. That's it.
All right, Bona RC, you've had so many meetings, including yesterday when you visited that particular area, and not far away from where you were, there was an attack. Could it be that these bandits are more tactical in terms of their approach?
No, it's not that they're more tactical. It's because they operate in a lawless manner. Like they'll find an abandoned place and burn it. There are no tactics. There are no tactics there. Like that school that there was an attempt to burn it. Actually, the school belongs. Many of the students who were in that school were actually for court. But sometime 2 weeks ago, they moved the children from that school, and therefore the school is basically abandoned. So they tried to burn it, but we responded. They had to get targeted a store which had a lot of off-cuts and right. So they tried to burn it, but they were not successful. Basically, what they're doing is that they go for abandoned homesteads and abandoned places like that school and try to set it ablaze.
Right. From Bona RC, from the reports that we had in our previous stories from our reporters on the ground, some of the residents say that the attackers were saying that all they are doing is it's a kind of a retaliatory attack that they are doing. Is it a situation that you see will be contained before it gets out of hand? Because as it is right now, it's spiraling pretty fast.
It's actually not spiraling. We are condemning it. People. They say that if a hyena wants to eat baby, they accuse it of smelling like a goat. Right. There were claims that the security officers kidnapped 2 members of the community from Olmoran and disappeared. They claim that vehemently denied. We are not privy to any such activity by government. But why would members of one community feel that when the members of the community, something has happened to them, then they blame other communities? Because now they're claiming that these people are picked by the security officers, and these 2 communities, the Pokot, the 2 gangs and the Kikuyu, are the ones who provide the information to security agencies. So they're saying that as long as the people have not been found, they're going to be attacking these people. I don't understand the logic. But the true position is that these people are taking on the Tugen and the Kikuyu community in that place because these 2 communities are not armed and they're basically defenseless on their own. So they find them an easier target than the government, because you strongly believe that the government that abducted these people. Why not face the government directly? Why go to innocent people who are going about their usual business? So the situation has not spiraled out of control. The government must operate within the law. If we are just to move in and apply all the government machinery, and there will be a public outcry. The animals there, the herders who are allowed by the owners of those ranches to graze in there. The people doing all sorts of activities in that area. They will put wildlife in that place. So as a responsible government, even as we respond, we take cognizance of those facts. The bandits don't do that. They'll come and they'll just, pump bullets into a house regardless which whether there's a baby, an old woman, or whoever is already a disabled person, they don't really care. So while we're handicapped by the law, they are not. So it appears as if the government is overwhelmed. But I want to assure you that we're...
Absolutely. Could you please just give us the exact figure of fatalities that already been experienced in that particular region, Banarsi?
Currently, we have... Can you get me?
Yes, I can hear you. Continue.
I'm having challenges with my thing here because the people are calling in.
Oh, no problem. Perhaps they are watching. Let me intervene. The RC is gone.
And please just give him time to continue the program. We'll continue with this. You call him after the show, okay? If you can hear me on RC, probably can continue.
I can hear you.
Right.
Please come again. I didn't get your question properly.
Okay. Perhaps from the figures that you have, what are the numbers of fatalities already reported in Laikipia?
The numbers are quite big, but for the last 1 month, we've lost about 7 people.
Yes.
And this number includes security officers. I want to confirm that the situation just deteriorated the other day when those claims of abduction came up. Otherwise, the people have borne the brand of these attacks have been security agencies, especially those who are domiciled right inside Laikipia Nature Conservancy. These people will just wake up one morning, they surround the security camp, they fire bullets there, wherever they get, and then they run away. But now what we are doing is that while we are carrying out the operation right inside the conservancy, we have also deployed a sufficient number of officers to protect people who have moved away from their homes, and they are settled in about four market centers. I want to assure Kenya that within the next few days, we are going to ensure that that normalcy returns. Actually been given only 7 days, and the 7 days began running on Monday. So by next Monday, we will have a status update to show where we are, that we have moved all the illegal occupants from that place, and that now we're putting in place measures to ensure that they don't come back, that life goes back to normal.
All right. Just to connect to what you said, the 7-day ultimatum that was given by the government also comes at the backdrop of another ultimatum which was given by the Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i a month or so ago. Perhaps these bandits are not bulging. No achievement so far?
No. It's not true. There are no achievements at all.
Right.
Have made achievements. When the CS gave that ultimatum,
yes,
actually it was meant to ensure that that these bandits are evicted from people's homes, people's because initially they come to invade group ranches, conservancies, and community land. Huge herds of animals. So the CS gave an ultimatum of 7 days to ensure that all these animals have moved out. And indeed, within those 7 days, all those animals had moved out. That's why you don't get any complaints from other ranches and private conservancies other than the Laikipia Nature Conservancy. That's the only place where these people are remained because of the very difficult terrain of that place. There are gorges there, there are caves there. Vehicles can't move. Any government intervention must be on foot. They've already taken strategic positions. You move in, you go into ambushes. And that's why now we have engaged a more multi-agency approach to ensure that now we take this battle to them. Because they've been doing that, they come out, they attack, but then they go back. So they have found that to be very, very good hideouts. That's why we want to go to where they are and solve that problem from there. What we have now is not really an ultimatum. We don't want to have an endless operation. And that's why we just given 7 days to carry out this operation, sanitize the area. What did the CS did? We gave an ultimatum to the herders, gave them 7 days, we move out voluntarily or we move out. We move them out. After 7 days, most of them had moved out. The few who were left, we moved in and moved them out. Yeah, so it's not like the orders or the directives are given in vain. That one was effective. There was no problem with that. And even the current one, the 7 days were given, they began running yesterday, and I want to assure that by Monday we'll have a good report to give.
NRC, let me just quote you said that these bandits are heavily armed. They have M16 rifles, heavy firepower against our police officers who only have G3 rifles and AK-47. And you wondered why these firearms come from. Could you please just explain to us that?
I want to put that story in context because I think it was I was quoted out of context.
Right.
The question was put in such a manner as to suggest that the government is dealing with people who are not who have maybe unserviceable weapons, or basically rudimentary weapons like they're using rongos and that kind of stuff, which is not the case. I want to just clarify that we are dealing with people who are equally armed, and they've got very sophisticated weapons, and they look like they've got a constant supply of ammunition, irreversible, because previously they were not firing the way they are firing now. They were very, very careful and very economical in terms of the usage of ammunition. But nowadays, if you go to a house which is basically deserted, and you expand 52 rounds of ammunition hitting at nothing, then it means I've got an oversupply of ammunition. That's why I was thinking loudly. Where do we get this armors? I wasn't in any way suggesting that they're better equipped than the security agents, because they can't. It's unimaginable for anybody to imagine that they can be better equipped than the government of Kenya. It's not possible. But it remains a concern that even with all our efforts we've made to disarm people, we still have a constant supply of firearms. I remember in that area I was the county commissioner in Isiolo, and it borders Laikipia. And we carried out a very serious disarmament exercise. We recovered firearms, AK-47, G3s, and those M16. And actually we thought we had done away with the problem with firearms. But you go back now, the level of arms that are circulating in that area is unimaginable. You don't even find some people carrying 2 G3s and carrying 2 G3s and 5 magazines. It's something that we need to address as government, because it can't continue like this.
Absolutely. And the government disarmed KPRs in that particular region. Could this be the reason these bandits are taking advantage?
Partly, yes. And the reason why the KPR were disbanded is because it's like the government was arming communities against each other. Because whenever an incident happened and it affected the Pokot KPR will side with the community, the Turkana KPR will side with the community, the Kikuyu KPR will side with the community. And the government has given firearms, they're giving them ammunition, and they're using the same to fight each other. Then number two, the communities, as I said, which are very heavily armed, and they are using government firearms as a way to get ammunition. And it was happening like this. These people have contacts, then they report that they have spent 3,000 rounds of ammunition when they've only spent 20. So the 2,880, they're going to give to the community. One of the government will replace that, but they have actually not spent them. So you'll find that the government is constantly supplying ammunition, for this community to go and fight, yet they're not being used for actual government work.
Yes.
And that's exactly what informed the withdrawal of government firearms from the KPRs. And for a long time, actually, there was a lull, and until just one particular community in that place that retained its illicit firearms and continued using it. So the unintended consequence was that the other communities which did not have illicit firearms became exposed.
Right.
And this is the kind of scenario now we are dealing with, and we are going to correct it.
Right. Do you think it's a good idea to arm them once again?
It's being considered. Actually, the rearming of KPR has been on the cards, but the strategy changed a bit. That the government will recruit NPRs from all the communities around where there's conflict. They get trained together, and then they come and live like in a barrack. The way soldiers live. Because NPR actually is in the law, they should supposed to actually in the law. It's not supposed to be tribal or ethnic in nature. It's supposed to operate the way the police service operates. But that again has not worked, because we tried that with the Turkana and the Pokot, and whenever there were issues there, instead of cattle rustling, you still find there's a bit of hostility even between the NPRs themselves one day they just woke up and the Turkana left and the Pokot left. So we are back to the drawing board. Because some of these places actually require the local people to start to manage, because the terrain is very bad, it's very complicated. And some of our officers are not very suited for this kind of environment. We can have people living, 20 people, NPRs, armed, living with the within the community, and you can manage the way they use these firearms by having maybe supervisors very close by, so to avoid the problem of misuse. The problem, why I'm saying that is because when these bandits come, they just come and target the house. In the village where there's no police station, there where there are no security officers, because they know where the security facilities are. Even if we deploy formed units, they know particular areas are best here, are best here. So they just come and they attack an isolated house or an isolated village. But if they know that people who are armed there, this kind of behavior cannot happen, because even those bandits fear firearms. Yeah.
Would you please confirm that there is a plan to deploy KDF in the area?
By law, the KDF is allowed to support civilian authorities in cases where there is belief that support is required. For now, we don't need the support of KDF. We are dealing with these just rack characters who are basically focusing on incident. To bring in KDF at the moment, because we are not overwhelmed, and Kenya should know this by Monday. You know where we are. Yeah.
Okay. Have you had any meeting with the ranch owners in that particular region, and what is their take?
We've had a meeting at least 3 times with the ranch owners and those who manage those conservancies. They've come up with very good proposals. They've got a lot of feedlots, and they're saying that livestock farming is a business. And these livestock owners, instead of them using firearms and coming to use force to get pasture and water, they can come like ladies and gentlemen and have some kind of negotiation, so that the private ranchers can provide this feedlot and water.
All right, Bwana RC, and finally, now what is the way forward now that it seems that lives have been completely disrupted in that particular region? Word of authority from you as we come to an end.
The problem with Ol Marana has been there since around 2010. In fact, as I said yesterday, 75% of the people who live in Ol Marana are not the actual landowners. These people have displaced the actual landowners. And for all this period of time they've been staying there, the culture of impunity has become entrenched. What we're doing now is that we're going to ensure that private property is respected and that people's lives are also protected. So these 7 days we're going to do just a quick fire to ensure that we will restore normalcy. But long term, we're going to ensure that even people moved away and went to other areas and completely forgot about the parcels of land because of insecurity in that place, we want them to come back to their homes and settle their farms and continue engaging in the issue of economic activities, because the responsibility of protecting people is vested in government, not in individual persons.
All right, Bwana RC, thank you so much for your time, and we hope to connect with you soon so that we can get an update.
What's happening there in Laikipia? We've been talking to Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembeya, just giving us an update on what's happening in Laikipia County. In the past few weeks, we've had lots of running battles between the herders and the bandits just raiding that particular region, and he said that the government is not going to leave anything to chance to ensure that normalcy returns. We are taking a break. We'll be right back.
Let's just go to that route, which is our focus still this morning, and this is actually why we are focusing on Nairobi-Nakuru highway, mostly termed as that northern corridor. Clearly a very instrumental road in terms of transportation of cargo, just as I was telling you earlier, as well as obviously transportation of people, most especially those coming from Nairobi out to the outskirts of Nairobi, to the areas of Western as well as Nyanza part of the country. Now, oftentimes, especially around times of November, December, January, there's usually a lot of cases of accidents along this specific route, given the fact that, like I mentioned, obviously one of those busy roads, a lot of activities around that time, and it's only a one carriage road. So what KENHA did, they said that they're going to expand this particular route to make it as from a single to a dual carriage road, in terms of just expanding that specific route to accommodate all these vehicles, because not only does it serve these vehicles that ferry people from Nairobi up to the outskirts of Nairobi, outskirts of the city, but also the trucks which are necessary for the transportation of cargo, not again just beyond Nairobi, but also up until outside the country, of course, countries like Uganda thereabout. So this is why this expansion process or project became very important and instrumental. It is set to begin September, that is what they mentioned, but they didn't quite put a specific date to it. I had also told you that the form in which this construction process will take place is what we call the triple P. That is the public-private partnership. That is the form in which this road is going to be constructed under. What this simply means is that the company contracted for this particular project will first of all design, construct, maintain and manage this road up until a certain time. So what that simply means is that after this company is done with all these activities, it is upon us as Kenyans to now begin paying what we call those levies here and there, to just ensure that whatever money that was used in financing this project goes back to the company. So clearly a lot of roads in the country have been undergoing that kind of form or a structure when it comes to construction, whereby the company designated to do the works does everything, and then the citizen gets to pay for that for a period of time. So this is how the road normally looks like. Clearly, just going by what you're seeing, obviously one of those busy roads, and that's why this expansion process has been and is becoming very necessary as well as instrumental. So aside from just trying to ensure that it will be a dual carriage road, it will also have various 4 lanes. So clearly that means it will be a very wide and huge expansion to at least make it easy for all these vehicles that use this particular route, and also to reduce on the number of accidents that are usually recorded along this route, and most especially around that time of the year. So right now we just want to check and quick on how the traffic flow is looking like around that area, and perhaps we can still go back to where we were earlier on. We were just looking at from that specific route from areas around Kikuyu, Kino, there just before you get to areas of Maimahiu, going all the way through Mau Summit, Naivasha, Rironi, up until Nakuru there, given that is our focus this morning. And just from how it was looking earlier on, nothing has changed. The same situation there, moving at a very swift pace, a clear indicator that perhaps whatever that is being done in regards to that reconstruction is not quite affecting the traffic flow along this specific route. This is how Kino area looks like this morning. Again, green all through the same continues up until areas of Uthiru there as you head over to sections of Kikuyu as well. So that's how it's looking like this morning. Not so bad around that particular area. And again, like I mentioned, the same also continues up until areas of Maimahiu, which is also one of those areas where it has taken a bit of some time for that construction process around that specific area. And clearly moving all the way past also areas of Maimahiu as you head over to Naivasha, not so bad at all. Also moving at a very swift pace all through up until Naivasha Road. That is how the road is looking like this morning. So again, a clear indicator that this will also remain a route and an area of focus up until we just see how that project is going to progress and try to see how all that is going to affect the traffic flow. So coming back, the traffic again still moving at a very fast pace. Nothing is changing also. Just clearly means that perhaps you also need not to look at any alternative route. Also Naivasha Road, this is how it's looking like, moving at a very swift pace on both lanes. lanes. And just as I mentioned earlier, if at all you're living areas of Nairobi, perhaps going to areas of Western or even Nyanza or even past the city, this is still the best time for you to do that. And also if you're living those particular areas coming all the way through the same section, again, the best time for you to do that, because clearly right now, no traffic at all. Just on some sections here and there, especially along Naivasha Road, is where there's a bit of a traffic, but still altogether manageable kind of traffic. We can barely see gridlock along this specific route, despite of those ongoing road works there. So like I mentioned, this will still remain a key road and a key route of focus until we see this project complete, open up to the public, and see how all this is going to transform how Nakuru-Nairobi highway is going to look like.
So they want us to think struck. So they want us to feel struck.
Welcome back. Glad you are still keeping us company. We want to swiftly move on to the next segment, and this is Women at the Forefront, all about the beautiful things our women are doing to empower younger women and young boys for that matter. The hashtag still remains to be Good Morning Kenya. At KBC Channel 1 is our official station handle across the socials. My handle is at Jane Wamboi. We welcome you to be part of this conversation. And today we have with us one beautiful lady who is doing amazing things for the community. She is Nasim Jahangir. She is the HIV/AIDS and sexually transmitted infections program coordinator, sub-county in Kilifi. Good morning.
Good morning, Jenny. Karibu sana. Asante sana. Are you on the social media platforms? Yeah, sure. How can our viewers be able to find you? Okay, on Facebook, Nasim Jahangir Haj. On Twitter, Jahangir Nas. Also under our organization at Connect_to Retain. We're also on Instagram, Nasim Jahangir, also Connect to Retain.
Awesome. Now, before we even get to the details of what you do, you're a clinician by profession, and the sub-county program coordinator in charge of HIV/AIDS and sexually transmitted infections. Maybe just give us a brief overview of how the state of affairs is looking at you under your program in Kilifi County.
Yeah, so Kilifi County is, as a program coordinator working with the Department of Health Kilifi County. Kilifi County is one of the regions that we term as medium hit by HIV infection. And my work there is to coordinate the program to ensure that patients are well managed by providing mentorship to health workers, also following up on the services that they offer and giving mentorship and support.
Awesome. Now, you also are very passionate about supporting the vulnerable adolescents and youth, and especially so back in Kilifi County. What is the drive behind this?
Yeah, so one time in 2010, I used to work in a clinic in the Kilifi County Hospital, and this was a HIV clinic where I used to meet children and adolescents living with HIV, and it was a turning point for me because they had a myriad of problems apart from just being HIV infection. Because at one point when I'm away, I come back, I find adolescents who are living with HIV and are pregnant. And you ask yourself, they're pregnant, they're HIV infection, meaning they're engaging in sexual intercourse that is not protected, meaning more people are getting infected. And also, what about that child that they're expecting? How are they going to take care of them? So this drove me into really wanting to start a social welfare, and that's why I started a community-based organization called Connect to Retain. And this was after I got a scholarship to do the Mandela Washington Fellowship in the US. And so one of the requirements is when you come back to your country, you need to do something as a giving back to the community.
Something impactful for that matter.
Yeah.
Now, that led you to forming your community-based organization that is Connect to Retain.
Yes.
Now, I'd like for us to just look at some of those issues that, you know, you have been addressing using your community-based organization. And let's just start with awareness when it comes to sexual education, and especially among the adolescent and the youth. What is the state of affairs, and how much of a problem is it as per what you have seen?
Yeah, so if you look on the statistics, like in 2019, we were all over the media on teenage pregnancies, or Kilifi is not doing what. Yeah, I remember we were at 33%, which was really not a good statistics. And with the impacts that we've had and the strides also that we've made through our interventions, and I think the support that Connect to Retain also has given to the county government in its using its strategies that they have and the support, we've managed to reduce the teenage pregnancies I think the recent statistics is around 13%, which is a great improvement. Yes. So the teenage pregnancy issue, we are handling it because the causative factors that were the disco matanga, the information. So we are ensuring that more girls are getting information, and also we conduct different modules and interventions to reach out to these young people.
Awesome. Now we find in most cases where young people are falling pregnant or contracting HIV and AIDS, for that matter, poverty is always a factor that has contributed to that. Is this something that you have also seen could be a problem in Kilifi County?
Yeah, sure. Poverty is a causative factor because you look at these young people, especially girls, who are not even to access a simple thing like a sanitary towel. So they're lured into doing either sexual activities in return to to favors like maybe a sanitary towel. And since they're also vulnerable, they're not even aware, they don't have information even to how to access healthcare services, especially reproductive health services. They end up transmitting HIV infection. So poverty is a drive into HIV infection, also teenage pregnancies.
All right, and that also brings me to the next aspect, and this is about culture. We're in the 21st century, we have progressed as a population, but we're still in the African space, and we find culture almost always is involved in some of the challenges that we get to face as a society. Is this something that you have seen is still a problem that contributes to this early engagement in sexual activity, resulting in pregnancy and infection of HIV/AIDS as well as other STIs?
Yeah, Jen, harmful cultural practices, especially in Kilifi, we still have those. Especially if you remember the disco matanga, this is a cultural practice where people celebrate the dead for a long period of time, and in return, these girls are lured into sex during that time because it's a night event and there's a lot of dancing, and also girls are not prohibited from going there. So in return, you realize that there's increased teenage pregnancies and HIV infections aftermath. And then also the other thing is early marriages. So we find that some of the girls in Kilifi County, especially in the rural areas, they're forced into early marriages before it's time because their parents don't understand the need to education, and also they feel like a woman's place is in the hands of a man, and also in the kitchen, and also having kids for the man. So they don't see the value of having the education for girls. So yes, it plays a factor for many communities in Kilifi County because it's a Mijikenda community that really embrace things like early marriages. Yeah.
All right. Now that brings me to the community-based organization that you put together, Connect to Retain. What is the mission and the vision behind this community-based organization? in mind with these challenges that you're looking to help alleviate, and especially so looking at this age group that you are targeting, their adolescents and their youth?
Yeah, so Connect to Retain is the mission for Connect to Retain is to provide sustainable health, education, and entrepreneurship skills in the region, and in return, it visualize a just, a healthy, and prosperous society. So Connect to Retain has different thematic areas that we handle.
Tell us a bit about those areas.
Yeah, so we have education. So for the education, we have we provide English skills to school-going kids that are around 14 to 20. So the reason why we focus on English skills is because most of the subjects come in English, and also in cost, you know, Kiswahili is not English is not our mdomo chetu, yeah. So we try to empower them with grammar skills, presentation skills, how to do their CVs, and also introduce them to different education sectors, like we take them to university so that they can learn also about career development. So it prepares them for the future. And we're offering this in Kilifi County. We had 2 schools and also in Kwale counties. So currently the program is running in Kwale counties in 2 schools. At the rural area, one school is called Perani Secondary School and another one in Lunga. So the second one is a health thematic area. So this is very wide because we focus on reduction of HIV infections. So we are contributing towards the overall goal of WHO, reduction of HIV infection and also reduction of HIV related deaths. So we have
those infected and affected.
Yes. So we are we support the county government in community outreaches. So we provide facilitations to the healthcare workers so that they can go to the mashinani and provide outreaches that include cancer screening, sexual transmitted infection screening, HIV testing, and also giving treatment to common illnesses. So in return, these girls are able to also access reproductive health information, and they're able to also be referred back to the facilities. Again, Connect to Retain also has invested in facilitators at the community level again. I'll give an example of a component and evidence-based interventions that has also been shown in the national TVs. It's called Sugar. Yes. If you remember Sugar. So Sugar is done to those who are 18 and 24. So we still use it at the local video dens that we have in the communities. So we bring the age group to that video den so that they can discuss about the video, and you can see that they're able to relate with the characters, and they're able to also plan for a way forward after that. Awesome. So that's one of the modalities that we have, and we have around 56 facilitators doing this in the community. We also have mentorship sessions. These we select role models in the community who are purely women below the age of 24, so that they can reach out to the younger ones who are upcoming also role models, so that you see, if you use someone from the community, it's easier for the community to own and they understand. So we have around 50 of them. So we use spaces in the community to provide that education. So they speak about reproductive health information, HIV information, how to abstain from sex, waiting, career paths, and a lot of things that support these young girls and women.
All right. Yeah. And what has been the reception of the community, the larger community, towards this organization that you put together to address a problem that is within the community? What will you embrace, VP?
Yeah, we really have good connection with the community, and they're so happy. And sometimes we get calls and they're like, we wish you could go to other counties. And we're like, yeah, I think this is a plan for the future. So we have good relationship with the community because our programs are community based, and in a way they're sustainable, because even beyond funding, Connect to Retain, when Connect to Retain is not able to still continue, because since we have empowered the young people down there, the program can continue even without funding. So we have different ways that we interact with the Mzee wa Mtaa. We bring them together. We have a community advisory board that has Mzee wa Mtaa. We have youth representation. We have the the chiefs who participate, and also the Nyumba Kumi, and the youth advisory committee also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of those other maybe projects or activities that you have engaged in? I like the fact that you've mentioned the schools that you have been able to set up to encourage furthering the education. But what are some of the other activities and programs that you have engaged in as a community-based organization that you can say, as a result of this particular activity, we got this number of young girls to transition from, or rather escape from harmful practices and are now in safe houses or in safe spaces or back in school? Tell us a bit about those activities.
Yeah, so one thing that I'm proud of is the reduction in teenage pregnancies. I believe Connect to Retain has played part in reducing the teenage pregnancies statistics from 33% to where it is now. Because again, you look at our activities are really targeting those who are having those numbers.
Exposed.
Yes. Again, the other thing that we are also proud of is we have a paralegal aid clinic where we bring in a lawyer, a pro bono lawyer at the community level to discuss issues of gender-based violence and mostly meet victims of gender-based violence. And most of the time we rescue them and bring them to rescue centers and also help them to also access justice. So I think this also has also helped in reduction of the GBV cases and also helping them to also be able to seek justice, because justice again is a very difficult thing, especially for the rural people. We have the kangaroo courts where they just solve issues at the homestead, and yet this girl continues to face the same problem. So we've really managed to do that. The other thing that I'm also proud of is Kenya has done the menstrual hygiene policy, I think some few months ago, and through Connect to Retain and other partners, we've been able to also domesticate the menstrual hygiene policy for Kilifi County. And if you look at this policy, then we are really looking to ensuring that human rights, and also as an investment for the county, to ensure that women and girls who menstruate are taken care of holistically.
Yeah.
So I think we will be the first county to launch this policy in Kilifi.
That's beautiful. Yeah. But in doing all this, I'm sure there are those hurdles that you still get to face as an organization, and maybe you could highlight them here, and hopefully from this particular platform we could be getting solutions that would go a long way in helping deal with some of these challenges that you're facing as an organization.
Yeah, so the biggest challenge now is number one, COVID-19 pandemic. I think it has cut across. It has affected so many programs.
Did it disrupt the progress you had made so far in one way or the other?
Yeah, because if you look at, we used to meet 30 participants. We're not able to do that anymore. So our numbers have to be reduced. Again, if you look at distribution of sanitary towels and dignity kits, we can't do it the way we used to do because we have to follow the MOH protocols.
Yeah.
So COVID-19 has affected us, but we believe that once it's over, we are able to really focus on our programs. Again, you see also funding has gone down because priorities have changed. It's not also about receiving grants, because people have focused and diverted funds to COVID-19 pandemic. So those are the challenges. We wish that we could broaden our services to other counties, but again, we have constraints in financial resources.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there's somebody that is watching us today and they would like to assist in one way or the other. What forms of assistance, whatever shape, manner, or form they may come in, do you feel are relevant in line with what you're trying to do and the problem that will ultimately come to work together to complement your work and for the ultimate good of those that you're targeting?
Yeah, so my request is I really want to have a youth resource center in Kilifi County and Kwale County, because I feel we need that space, particularly for youth to come and engage with others and also learn a lot. These spaces are not available in these two counties, and if I will get support in either building one, because we have space where we can put up one, then I'll appreciate that support.
Awesome.
Yes.
Now, aside from, doing what you're doing with the Connect to Retain, you have also been the recipient of a number of awards. And I'd like for us to start with this one that we have here. Tell us more about this. Let's start with the name of the award, the category, and what brought it about.
Yeah, so this is a FOIA award that I recently received. It's under the category Social Founder of the Year. It's an African award.
Founder of the Year award.
Founder of the Year, yeah. So this is over 30 category because I'm 35. So there was for 30 and below. Yeah, so this award is just to recognize young people who are really doing great jobs in the community. And so out of the countries that participated, I happened to grab this for Kenya, and on behalf of Connect to Retain. Yeah, so that's what FOIA is about, to recognize young people.
And what does this mean for you as an individual in terms of even reminding you of what you are doing and the achievements that you have achieved thus far, bearing in mind that the path hasn't just been a smooth, straight path you just have to follow?
Yeah, so this award really has motivated me. Number one, it reminds me of the work that we've been doing for the community, and as I was dedicating it to the young girls and the young people in the counties that I've worked with. So as a community champion, many girls also look up to me in one way or the other as a role model, and I think seeing me in this with this award, it also motivates them in a way, and also for me it motivates me to even work harder and also ensure that my impact is felt even beyond the 2 counties that I work with.
Yes. Now, you are also, given you're the sub-county coordinator when it comes to HIV/AIDS and sexually transmitted infections, when it comes to the aspect of awareness, and especially considering everything health is a devolved unit, and bringing it back down to the counties to ensure that HIV/AIDS and STIs are not something that our adolescents have to be affected with. In terms of awareness, what more do you think needs to be done to ensure that, first of all, the youth know what they are doing when it comes to their sexuality?
Yeah, I think the only problem that I find in programs, especially the programs that we have, is that we don't engage youths in planning, and also like policies, engaging them in programs at the implementation level, at the designing level, because they are the ones who are facing this, and they're the only ones who can give us a solution to this. So if you ask me, I would prefer that we engage youth at the beginning, at the drawing table, in designing of policies, designing of interventions, and then work with them to the end, even at the results level. And I feel that this will really have an impact to young people.
It definitely will have an impact, but we cannot also reach the youth without seeking the consent of their parents, because the parents and the teachers also have to be, hey Tumbi, my roots are showing, they have to be involved in this whole conversation. And looking at an example from where you come from, looking at Kilifi, issues to do with harmful cultural practices is a reality that we need to accept. How then do we also bring their parents on the table for them to understand that some of these cultural practices are retrogressive and are not adding to the youth, in as much as they feel it's a rite of passage?
Yeah, I think the government is really doing a great job in terms of engaging school education department. Like we have teachers living with HIV also are acting as role models to other teachers in the schools. And again, NASCOP has really engaged schools and trained teachers on how to talk with these young people and support those who are living with HIV in schools. You remember there was stigma where some schools pour the drugs in front of other kids. So this has really gone down because we have peer counseling teachers in schools that have been trained, the principals and even the matrons. They are fully aware of what is expected, especially for a child or a girl or a boy living with HIV in schools. So education department has involved, religious leaders have been involved, and I think we are on the right path.
We're on the right path. But we also still alive to the fact, and this is a conversation I was having a while back with another guest, just looking at how when it comes to sexual education, and especially with our children, we tend to use socially acceptable terminologies to teach our children about their private parts and their sexuality, consequently misinforming them to some point, such that when they are in such situations, they don't know if the atrocities that are being committed to them are wrong. When it comes to actually using children-friendly language to speak to them about their bodies and their sexuality, how do we best approach this? And bear in mind your community and the spaces that we come from.
Yeah, Jen, if you ask me, I don't see a problem of giving the right name to that body part, because if I don't want to mention it here, but if that's the name, the right name, then you should teach the child that this part, if something happens to this part, then it means you've been violated. Or like for sometimes like go susu, we use such words. Your private parts. Some people use funny names to refer, and then when girls grow up, they start asking, how comes the teacher told us something different from what? I remember my daughter. I have a daughter who is 12 now, and she came the other time and she told me, Mom, she's in class 6. We've started the female organ system, and I know what we used to call the female private part kiduku, and it's like, Mom, it's not called kiduku, it's a vagina. You know? I'm like, okay. So what happens? She told me, I think this is the right word. I was like, yeah, this is the right word. And I was like, I think I failed in that one for that time. But I think it's good to talk about it, because again, it's not, I don't think it's abuse, because they're still body parts. So we should just hit it on the head.
Talk to our children as early as possible. Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, what would be your message, especially to all the stakeholders that are in the value chain when it comes to HIV and AIDS and STIs, and especially targeting the adolescents and the youth?
Yeah, so my message is that we should not give up on these young people. I know they're a difficult group also to work with, but if we come together as stakeholders, support the county government in ensuring that they increase access to health education, having policies and programs that are realistic and also are engaging young people and women, ensuring that we have we ban these harmful cultural practices in the community. I think when we come together, great things happen, and yes, we can achieve this.
We can achieve this. Thank you so much for making time to be with us. We have been speaking with Naseem Jahangir. She is the sub-county program coordinator in charge of HIV, AIDS and sexually transmitted infections in Kilifi County. She's also the founder of Connect to Retain. Maybe you could give us your social handles once more so that our viewers can know how to engage with you after this.
Yeah, so you can reach us. Connect to Retain has a website, www.connecttoretain.co.ke. We also, my Facebook is Naseem Jahangir Haj, Connect to Retain Coast. On Twitter, we are Connect_to_Retain. Naseem, my Twitter handle is Jahangir Nas. On Instagram, Naseem Jahangir, Connect to Retain. I think we're all over social media platforms.
All right, just Naseem Jahangir or Connect to Retain, and you'll be able to find them. Thank you so much once again, and keep doing what you're doing. We're here to support you.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, that brings us to a close of Women at the Forefront, but we are not yet done. We have another discussion coming up in a bit, so keep it here. We'll be right back.
Since the day that we met, I've never been able to give her happiness.
General, you know what? You're a traitor for disobeying. Do you think you can actually get out of here alive?
If you don't want her to kill herself, release me now. You see.
Babako anajua? Ama akijua itakuwa.
Wewe ndiye mamake Maya. Wewe ndiye mwenzangu hapa ndani ya nyumba. Wewe ndiye jicho langu. Leo amuuliza Pili Maya ameenda wapi?
We ni Zuzu au anifanyia madharau ama we ni mzuka tu kama hiyo sura yako?
Mume wangu sijamuona kutoka jana na aliniambia alikuwa na Kate. Wakili yuko wapi?
Good morning. You're still watching KBC Channel 1 and this is Good Morning Kenya. Now on the Viewpoint this morning, we're going to be talking about money. Money makes the world go around, and without money, well, we cannot do so much. So what happens if your bank goes under? Have you ever considered what happens to your deposits? Well, to take us through this conversation is none other than CEO Mohamud Ahmed of the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation. Thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
We start off with that question. A majority of Kenyans, we've just posed a question to them: what happens to their deposits in the event that the bank they're banking in currently goes under? And that's where you come in.
Okay. Thank you, Regina. Thank you, Kenyans. And one thing I want to assure Kenyans is that we are already running a program which says pesa yako iko safe kwa benki.
Just like that, pesa yako iko safe kwa benki.
First and foremost, pesa yako iko safe kwa benki. In the unlikely event of a closure of the bank, KDIC, which used to be formerly a Deposit Protection Fund Board, has actually been given an added mandate of resolving the banks. We don't want us to reach that point of benki imefungwa, we need our money. No. We want you to, in case of even a problem of a bank, we are going to resolve that bank and have that bank continue trading like what we did in Chase Bank, which was the first bank that we transited 75% of the bank. Plus what we paid actually is coming to a total of about 82% of your deposits are accessible to the depositors now as they continue doing business with the bank. And that is what KDIC stands for, and that's what is the future for KDIC. I know previously, Regina, is that everybody was saying bank closes is 100,000. Okay, fine. We have already kind of enhanced that figure for the first time in 30 years to 500,000 shillings. Mm-hmm. But one thing I want to assure Kenyans, we don't want to reach a situation where a bank closes today and we go for our 500,000. Although the 500,000, I'm covering 99% of the depositors.
Now, before you've told us pesa yetu iko safe kwa bank.
Yes.
That is where we are, and that is the role of the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Yeah.
Now, let's start off with what happened over in Parliament. And I know we're going to gloss through because this has already been overtaken by events. But just take us through the concerns that you raised about the review of Section 28(2) about the Principal Act. The reservations there, because you have said you do not want banks to go under. And there was something that was said to the effect that if this review is made or the amendment, unscrupulous people might collude with banks. Take us through that.
Good. Indeed, when we talk of that coverage, it's called that is the insured sum. Mm-hmm. And when that bill came in 2018, we were at the original 100,000 shillings, which has been with us for the last almost 30-something years, since inception of DPF, which was 1986. So we ourselves as KDIC saw it prudent now to review and enhance that figure. And indeed, when the experts did the review of that coverage, they recommended 250,000 shillings. We as KDIC doubled that amount to 500,000 shillings. And that bill, which is in Parliament, may have been overtaken by event, because at that time everybody was crying about the 100,000 shillings. 500,000 shillings, of course, it will now kind of also increase our exposure to the fund of KDIC. Because at 100,000, and in the unlikely event of a collapse of the banking system in Kenya, our exposure was at 250 billion. With 500,000, our exposure has shot to almost 700 billion. With the 1 billion somebody was trying to suggest, our exposure was going to go into trillions of shillings, which will be a cost on the taxpayer, which is me and you. Okay? And if you look at the international best practice which we subscribe to, talks of limited coverage. Because at 1 million will cover almost 100%. And if we do that, there is actually a concept which they call moral hazard, that the banks will not also be very particular on the kind of business they're doing, because you're told in case if it fails, si utalipo pesa zako.
You're covered.
You're covered.
Yes.
So it also brings that discipline with the banks to know that the best practice talks of limited coverage. It does not talk of that kind of excessive coverage. So we are in line with the best practice, and indeed it took us time to convince the experts, the international experts, to push the figure to 500,000. And we told them, since for 35 years the figure has always been at 100,000, let us compensate Kenyans to 500,000. But one thing I want to assure Kenyans, our dream, our aspirations, and our capacity and the mandate of the law we have today is that we are called a resolution authority. Before we used to be a liquidator. DPF used to be a liquidator, but KDIC is called a resolution authority, which is to resolve any problem bank in conjunction with the central bank and the National Treasury.
Now, talking about that issue of, this has not changed for the last 35 years. We are now currently from the 100, we are at 500,000 shillings. And would want to know exactly what does the revised cap of the 500,000 shillings cover, and then also bring us up to speed with where we are with compensation to depositors of Chase Bank as well as Imperial, because we see the good loans and the deposits have since gone to KCB. Maybe that's another issue that you want to raise. We want to remind you that we are live and we welcome your feedback. You can get us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 News. My Twitter handle is at Ray Manyara. Right now, the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation has a slogan and a program running that goes that pesa yako iko safe kwa bank. Do you think so? And if you have any differing opinions, or even actually accept that indeed pesa yako iko safe kwa bank, well, this is the opportunity. We have the CEO with us here, that is Mohammed Ahmed, just taking us through what the role that this particular agency plays to secure our deposits. So, sir, we were talking about the coverage, the revised cap of 500,000 shillings. What exactly does it cover?
Now, when we talk of coverage, and I want and ask Kenyans to understand this, it is in the unlikely event of an institution placed in liquidation. And liquidation is what I normally have baptized as the last mile of resolution. After we are finished with all the other processes, now a bank is found, this bank cannot be salvaged. We go into liquidation. Once central bank appoints KDIC as the liquidator, like what recently happened with Charterhouse, now the coverage kicks in. That's when we pay people the enhanced figure of 500,000, where we are covering 99% of the depositors. Then you are not losing the balance of your accounts, because now we go into the assets of that bank to realize the assets of that bank, so that we can now continue paying. Indeed, there are some old banks that we have so far paid up to 95% of the deposits of the depositors, because it also depends with the quality of the assets of that bank. And one thing I want to assure Kenyans, with the mandate of KDIC, where we want to work very closely with the central bank, one of our key areas we want to be looking at our membership, who are the banks, licensed and regulated banks and microfinance, is the quality of their assets. That's an area that, of course, we're going to mark them. And now, maybe if I can jump a little bit, Reg, if you'll allow me, with now the risk-based premium, those are the parameters that we're going to measure the risk profile of a bank.
Now, you picked it from my mind, because currently banks pay an annual premium rate of around 0.15%.
Good.
And that is the average of the total deposits, or deposit liabilities, or 300,000 per bank, whichever is higher. From where I sit, I'd want to pose this question to you: is this enough to, to take care of the risk involved?
Good. Thank you, Reg, and I'm very happy that you have at least have come into contact with our law, and you'll be our main spokeslady here. Now, to the Kenyans. So what I'm saying is that currently we were charging a flat rate of 0.15% of the annual average deposits of the bank, which is quite high, which is of course which is the normal. The law allows us up to 0.4%.
Okay.
But we put it at 0.15% because we also did not want to penalize our members. However, now with the risk-based premium, which kicked in this year, July, banks will pay in accordance with their risk profile. The higher the risk, the higher the premium they're going to pay. So this is also one of what I call our first line of defense, to make sure we don't have any bank failure in this country. And indeed, there's a course that we are driving in KDIC which says 0 bank failures in Kenya. And indeed, that is the course that we all want to rally behind, to make sure that our banks don't close. And in case of any problem, we fix the problem of the bank as a going concern. And in the unlikely event of a closure, we'll have a bank which has very good assets, like what happened in Chase Bank and Imperial, where some of the assets could now be bought by other banks. Yes. And when you hear the assets are being bought by other banks, it doesn't mean that they pay us money, no. They get X amount of loans, and we give them X amount of deposits, so that the depositors can continue now and getting their money from that bank. That is what we do. There's no money involved here. Okay? Because at the end of the day, the deposit insurance is there for the benefit of the depositor, who is me and you, and other Kenyans who are watching us.
Now, on the case of Charterhouse Bank, this is a bank that we have read in history. It has a long history, especially where our politics is concerned over the years. It has taken quite a long time to start this journey when it comes to compensation. Timelines and durations. Are you in a position to actually fast track this? Wonderful.
Indeed, one of the things that we have always been grappling with, even internationally, Reg, I also sit in the board of the International Association of Deposit Insurance, and by the way, I'm the president and chairman of the African Committee, the whole of Africa. And one thing we have been grappling with is timelines on this resolution. Okay, that what kind of timelines can we give to resolution? But we have a cure for it. Even in KDIC, we have a cure, and I always tell my team, our dream is, in the unlikely event of a closure of a bank, we want to close a bank on a Friday and open it on a Monday. And Reg, it is possible to be done. What does this mean? It means that once a bank shows some signs of distress, we move into that bank together with central bank. We start now correcting whatever is ailing that bank. Then if we find we want now to sell this bank, we sell it as the bank is still continuing with its business. So that come Saturday, it moves from Mohamud Bank. Monday, it comes to a strong bank called Reg Bank, which everybody can identify with. That is the dream and the aspiration of KDIC as a resolution authority.
That would be quite a track record. 48 hours. We close the bank on Friday. Monday, we are back in operation.
Yes.
And for this dream to be actualized, as an agency, who have you identified as your partners to ensure that this actually becomes a reality?
Now, and we have a team called Safety Net Participants, who are ourselves, the central bank, the national treasury, and our membership, who are the banks and the microfinances, licensed and regulated. I have to be very particular to Kenyans. It must be licensed. And today, one other thing, that another level that we have put in the banks, when you walk to any of your bank, look for the stickers of KDIC, that this bank is a member of KDIC. We have already put stickers in our banks to confirm these are members of KDIC.
We'll talk about membership, because now, I'm already getting questions here as to and one of the questions that was coming through is, are all banks insured?
All banks licensed and regulated by the central bank, and microfinances licensed and regulated by central bank are our members, and they're insured.
Now the question falls in on the microfinance, because these ones are coming up every day, so to speak. But let's talk about what we were explaining further, because before we talk about the membership and what to look out for when I'm going to that credit
because
facility.
your question was, what does it take us to achieve that dream?
Yes, the resolution.
That resolution dream will be, we're already putting the infrastructure in place, and one of the most important infrastructure that we're trying to put in place, we're coming up with an electronic data warehouse as KDIC. It's already actually in motion, where we'll be having the data of all the banks. Then we can be mining real time. We want to have real time data from the banks. And this one, we want to work very closely with the central bank and the national treasury, so that we can come with a national data system with the banks, where we can actually mine the data of the bank on a real time basis. Then if a bank starts showing any sign at one time, we can come up now with the appropriate simulations and appropriate strategies for this bank. Will this bank, how can we sell this bank? How are the assets of the bank? How are the deposits sitting in this bank? Because indeed, when we look at some of those parameters, it can even tell you how strong a bank is. Even now in our risk profiling, that's how we are profiling these banks. We are looking at their assets, we are looking at their liquidity, we are looking at their earnings, and we're also looking at their management. So once all these things now fall into place, I'm telling you, Reg, this dream will be a reality. And that's one thing I want to assure Kenyans, this dream will be a reality. However, what we want to do is we really want to work very closely with our other safety net participants, particularly the central bank, the national treasury, and our membership, who are the banks, so that, like now, we are creating a very kind of strong relationship with our membership, so that they can also be telling us when, even if there's a problem, they don't have to hide the problem. Because, you know, you hide a problem until it becomes terminal. Terminal leads to what? Leads to liquidation. We don't want it to lead to liquidation. As a human, just the bank is just like any other institution. It can have a problem, yes. You people can sit down and resolve that problem, because as KDIC, we have been given powers in the law. We have several resolution options that we can apply. Okay? We can even advise the bank together with the central bank. So that close coordination, cooperation, and information sharing mechanism is what will make us achieve this dream of the 48 hours.
Now let's talk about membership, and not focus on the banks, but now focus on microfinance.
Yes.
They are coming up.
Yeah.
Membership. What does it take? You know, what is the prerequisite to be a member?
And maybe just to correct you right there, they are not coming up as the way you think. So far we have 14 microfinances, and they're taken through a very rigorous licensing procedure. They fall under the Microfinance Act, but they are licensed by who? By the central bank, where you find the licensing is as stringent as that of a bank. Okay, so far we only have 14 microfinances, and those are the ones who are actually in. So don't confuse with the SACCOs, and yes, and some SACCOs fall now under a different regime.
Yes. Regulated by
SASRA.
Yes.
Then we have others. Which I don't want to talk about.
Those are the others, and that's where the problem is, but it doesn't fall squarely on your block.
Those others, I want to tell Kenyans, are not part of us. And please, once you invest with them, you invest with them at your own risk. Invest your money in banks licensed by and regulated by and microfinance, and look for the stick of KDIC. Yes.
From where you sit, you're saying matters of data are key. You know, data is king in this age, as you say. Now, from the banking sector, fraud, money laundering.
Yes.
some of the challenges that, risks that the banking sector is grappling with. With this safety net task force, are these some of the issues that are being addressed?
Of course, cybercrime is a priority now. It's top on the agenda. Okay, banks are working round the clock, and for any crime you find the criminals are always ahead of the pack. And actually this is what I shared with one of the TV stations the other day. So for us, we also have to be ahead of the pack. Indeed, I was even even convincing our International Association of Deposit Insurance that those are areas, because like now we are going into the realm of financial technology. All of us actually are on online banking, we are on M-Pesa and all that, and those are now becoming wet areas for these kind of crimes. So we are supposed to think, and we are supposed to develop systems, okay? And most of the banks actually have developed appropriate systems which can detect, okay, those kind of cyber crimes. And it is one of the biggest kind of risk that the banks are facing. Because at a click of a button, the bank can lose billions of shillings. So it's a system which needs to be well insulated. Their data needs to be well insulated and secured, and they are supposed even to have even what you call, even they have to externalize their servers and all that. Yes.
From where you see, it has been the performance of the banking sector this one year that you're calling the COVID year, and that was 2020. From where you see?
And surprisingly, I want to surprise you, Reg, and other Kenyans. Our banks have become so resilient that last year deposits in banks grew by about 14%. And we really want to thank Kenyans. Despite COVID, Kenyans continued putting their money in our banks, continued with their savings culture, which is a very good culture for our country, because savings is what will drive our country. Those savings is what now convert into investments and other developments in our country. Kenyans indeed continued doing business with their banks and continued saving with their banks, which was, kind of even unbelievable when you saw about 14% growth in deposits, which actually shows that Kenyans have confidence with our banking system. Our banking system is resilient, strong, and sound. And this is what we're encouraging our membership, who are the banks, to continue with that kind of trend, so that we have a strong financial system, even to attract foreign investments into our country.
Now, sir, you said that there's a slogan, there's a program that you're running as the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation. Pesa yako iko safe kwa bank.
Yes.
It is as such. You've not paraphrased it. Iko hivyo.
No.
Pesa yako iko safe kwa bank.
Listen to most of the radio stations. I think it's a program which we have been running. Pesa zako ziko safe kwa benki yako.
Aha.
Yes.
Kwa benki yako.
Yes.
What does the future portend for the Kenya Deposits Insurance Corporation as you wind up to this?
Yes, the future of Kenya Deposit Insurance is to ensure that we have a very strong and sound financial system, because one of our core mandate, or one of what we call our public policy objective, is to foster financial stability by also building confidence with our banking system. That's why we are running some of these programs, and then we are telling Kenyans, please don't put your money under the mattress, because it will be affected by the 2R, which is the robber and the rat. Put your money in the bank, which is licensed, and always look for the KDIC sticker wherever you go. Where you see KDIC sticker, ujue where you are also covered and you are insured.
Oh yeah, the 2 R's, yeah?
The 2
Robber
R's.
and the rat.
Yes.
We no longer, majority of us no longer do mattress banking. But now, as we are running up to the general elections, and what is your projection when it comes to our deposits and such? We've seen the financial year 2020, 14% growth in deposits.
Yeah. Of course, and the kind of confidence that our public have with our banks, I'm not foreseeing any kind of disruption as far as the deposits are concerned, because of course elections will come and go. Our country still remains, and we should all support our institutions, whether the political institution, financial institution, because we all have one country which all of us are proud of, and it's a country we want to bequeath our next generation. So we do everything knowing that this is a country that we live in, and we do make sure that we do things the right way and continue doing business with our bank. KDIC is there for you, and KDIC will continue protecting you.
Sir, before I let you go, I'd want to know, do you believe that now we are focusing on risk-based premiums, that this is going to ensure that we have zero bank failure in the country?
Thank you so much, Reggie. Actually, you have even gotten the narrative right. Risk-based premium indeed will lead to that cause of zero bank failures in Kenya. Indeed, now I know the banks actually are also going to reconfigure their risk management framework, because of course they are also answerable to their shareholders. They will be asked, why are we being charged high compared to last year? So it is indeed what we are saying, it's an incentive to the bank. Some people might think that it is not punitive, it's an incentive to the bank to tell them, hey, you need to up your game now. You need now to be at the 0.15%. Why should you be at 0.16%? And this one will be to the benefit of the depositor and the bank itself. Because once a bank closes, the shareholders lose, the staff loses, plus the members of the public. So all of us are stakeholders in the bank. So we should, and one thing I always say, Reg, which I really want to leave with you, is that banks, as much as they are private institutions, they're holding a public asset called deposits. Without a deposit, that bank does not have oxygen. It will perish. And who is this? Who has this deposit? It is the Wanjikos, the Reginas, and the Mohamuds, and everybody else. Those are the king and the queens of these banks, and those are the people that KDIC is protecting, and even the banks should protect. Those are the owners of the banks. So whenever somebody is in a bank, you are making such a decision, always put the members of the public, knowing that this is their asset. And once we do that, zero bank failure comes in. Yeah.
I cannot put it better. We have been talking to the CEO of the Kenya KDIC, that is, where we have a slogan that pesa yako iko safe kwa bank, and you've been challenged, you and I, that if you're thinking of giving your deposits to just any other bank, you need to look for that sticker, because you are the custodian, or other, you have the oxygen that is to keep this bank running. I'm Regina Manyara, you're watching KBC Channel 1, and this was Good Morning Kenya.
Dancing because it's a different side of me that's fun and you enjoy the moment. I lost my leg in the year 2020 when I was diagnosed with cancer for the second time.
Today I'm going to show you guys on how to make the perfect salad, which you can enjoy with a side of chicken or with a side of bhajia.
Today we'll be dealing with clay, and we'll be making a slipper out of clay.
Your man a bim bada bim bada bim bada bim bada bim bada 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 energy synergy bim bada bada like a David, watch and go zero look like a baby.
I said let's get to work.
Hey, a little girl, it's a gift for you. You know, respect goes both ways. If the aim was to let the teacher go quietly, how come there are so many stories about his departure? How come? Something is amiss, eh? Something is amiss.
I can confidently say I have learned nothing, and I am confident it is going to get worse before it gets better.
How about who are you?
I am Mr. Fridge.
What sort of a stupid name is that? What did you do to piss off your parents like that?
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
The Masai Mara is one of the most productive ecosystems in the world.
In case I spot any animal with a problem or an injury, I can easily contact the people concerned.
In Maasai communities, women stay at home, but one woman, Lucy Rotikan, has decided to defy these expectations.
It was hard, but I was trying, like I should prove them I'll do it, but it took time before they accepted me in the field.
The presence of these animals makes the Masai Mara one of the most popular tourism destinations in Africa. This is Wildlife Warriors, and I'm Paula Kohombu.
Clarice Kadenyi is an 18-year-old mother from Mukuru Kwanjenga informal settlement in Nairobi.
Baba mtoto tangu nipate ball ajai kuwa supportive, hasa kanitoroka, ajai leta hata vile niliombea nimezaa, ajai kuja kuona mtoto, pampas hajakuja kumletea, hata shilingi hajakuja. Huyu kijana aliniambia hati tukana urafiki na yeye, anaweza nisaidia hata kama ni kulipa school fees ama pia kunibaya sanitary towels, alinidanganya.
With love gone on the other hand and a bundle of joy on the other, Clarice opted to drop out of school. Necessity, they say, is the mother of invention. With the COVID-19 pandemic affecting livelihoods, Clarice says the business has lots of challenges.
Unaweza enda kuuzia mtu sambusa na pesa ingine, sume kama ni 10, atasema hapana hataki, amezoea ile price yenye umezoea kuuza. Juu sasa hivi unaona unga imepanda, mafuta imepanda, hawezi kubali. Sasa inabidi tu nimeuze nayo kobole, na kwa hiyo kobole hapo simetuka hiyo 200, hakuna naweza pata faida kidogo, alafu niko sasa kupika hiyo siku nyingine. Juu pia hiyo pesa ndo nahitaji kutumikia kununulia mtoto nayo kitu. Saa zingine watu huko nje wanakuchekelea. Pia mamangu na yeye unatuni kama nimemletea mzigo. Juu watu hawezi kosa kuniongelelea huko nje. Wanasema mtoto amezaa mtoto, shule alikataa kuenda. Ako tu, hakuna kitu anafanya.
17-year-old Mary, not her real name, says she is unable to handle the stigma that comes with teenage pregnancy.
Watu wengine wananiangalia vibaya, unaona ananipoint. Sasa unajua itumbo pia. Watoto wangeanza kucheka, waanze kunibeba vibaya. Hadi wengine wanitoroke, unajua kwa class niachwe peke yangu. Sasa kwa nitaka hivyo.
Through a phone interview with Embakasi Girls High School principal, she has to deal with the stigma of teenage mothers.
Right now we have 6 girls who are confirmed, and actually they have talked about their being pregnant. Many times the parents they feel that they have been embarrassed and such and such. We also ask the class teachers to devolve that discussion to class level, especially where the girls are.
Yes.
So that these girls are well received by their peers.
Yes.
However, there is the aspect here, the girl herself coming to accept the fact that she's becoming a mother at this age sometimes can pose challenges. For that, we attach them to a teacher, a specific teacher to work with them.
Teenage mothers need emotional support if they are to achieve their dreams.
We need to encourage such girls so that we can motivate them even as they walk through this journey. That, because of also their health, so that even the baby that they are carrying, they are able to deliver a mature baby. Because when they go through stress and thinking about the neglect and the situation and the environment that they are in back at home, it really affects them and affect their health. And you see, this girl can start thinking so much, and that's why we are getting cases of suicide.
Irene Balilwa, a mentor of girls in the area, is concerned with the trend.
Yes. I'm telling you, in Mukuru, ni wengi. Maybe haiwezi kuwa captured kwa media, ama haiwezi kuwa captured in another way, but a lot of girls are becoming pregnant young, as young as 14, 13.
An excerpt from Chapter 3 of the National Guidelines of the School Re-Entry Policy states that the learner and parents or guardians shall sign a committal letter for the pregnant learner to re-enter school 6 months after delivery, which provides time to nurse the baby.
The President has directed, and we have kept saying this. I told my colleagues who are here from the Ministry of Education, is now government policy. All those children have got to go to school. Whether or not they're expectant, they have to go to school, and teachers are going to work together with the leaders to ensure that we keep those children in school.
According to the government's re-entry to school policy, learners who have attained the age of 18 years shall be advised to enroll for adult and continuing education or vocational training centers to complete school. For Clarice Kadenyi to achieve her dream of becoming a teacher, she needs support to take care of her baby as she pursues her dream. Sheila Yogo reporting for KBC in Nairobi.
I've been living in Kenya for the past 4 years with my wife, who's a humanitarian worker. And in those 4 years, it gave me an opportunity to really explore art. And art in a way, basically, for the future, which we interpret as recycling, remaking things that have already expired.